1. When Gu Xingzhou was about to be beaten to death, I rushed over to shield him. As a result, my spine was broken, leaving me paralyzed for life. By my hospital bed, he proposed to me with deep affection in his eyes. I was already hopelessly in love with him, so I happily agreed. We'd been married for 10 years, and our love still felt as strong as ever. But just when I finally got pregnant and was about to give birth, he used the excuse of spending one last private getaway together to lure me to a villa halfway up the mountain, where he locked me up and set it on fire. I will never forget the cold look on his face. If it weren't for you, Yu would never have died. Go to hell and keep her company. When I was reborn and returned, I once again stood at the crossroads of fate. 1. The pain of my whole body being seared by fire was like maggots gnawing at my bones, so intense it made me stagger twice and almost lose my footing. You bastard, you're as shameful as your own background. Despicable and lowlife. Following the sound, I looked over to see Gu Xingzhou with a sack over his head, pinned to the ground and beaten like a dog by Gu Qing and the others. Even so, he still didn't forget to throw out a threat. Gu Qing, just like your mother, you're nothing but a rat from a filthy sewer, dirty and stinking. Unlike Gu Xingzhou, Gu Qing had grown up in the underworld, hardened and decisive. Insulting his mother had clearly struck a raw nerve. His eyes turned bloodshot as he yanked a cleaver from his waist. Gu Xingzhou, you're already at death's door, and you still dare to be this arrogant. Let me make it clear, I came here today to take your life. The men behind him also flashed the weapons in their hands. I quickly looked away and hurried off, getting out of harm's way. In my previous life, when I saw that scene, I didn't even hesitate. I threw myself at Gu Xingzhou at once and gritted my teeth, taking all the damage for him and ending up permanently disabled. Grateful for my sacrifice, the Gu family had Gu Xingzhou marry me, joining our two families in marriage and strengthening the alliance between the Gu and Jing families. For 10 years of marriage, Gu Xingzhou never once let his act slip in public. Gu Xingzhou was a major figure in Jinzhou, with countless women throwing themselves at him, yet he remained completely unmoved. He often made bold, public declarations of his love for me. When he was alone with me, he was always gentle and soft-spoken, and never once lost his temper with me. Not until I became pregnant. He not only often came home drunk late at night, but even while talking to me, he would frequently zone out. I only thought he was under too much work pressure. As Mr. Gu's health gradually declined, several of his illegitimate sons began to emerge, quietly showing signs of vying with him for the family fortune. Several times, if my father hadn't fought tooth and nail for him, his position would have been gone. Just as I was about to give birth, he took me to a vacation villa halfway up the mountain, sent away the servants in the house, locked every escape route, and even set a fire before leaving. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass, I met those venomous eyes looking at me like I was his enemy, clutching my belly as the baby kicked violently. I was utterly consumed by despair. If you hadn't used the fact that you saved me 10 years ago to force me to marry you, how could Yo-Yo have stormed off in a rage and died in that plane crash? Today, you'll taste the despair of being on the brink of death too, and atone for Yo-Yo. In the searing blaze, a boundless hatred surged up within me. I hated him for deceiving and humiliating me, and for wanting to kill me. If he didn't want to marry me, he could have said so plainly. Though I love him, I still have my pride. I took those blows for him of my own free will. How could I ever use that to cling to him? But I'm not alone anymore. I gently stroked my 8-month pregnant belly and pleaded with him, no matter how much you hate me, that's fine, but our baby is about to be born. Please, let him go. How could I ever allow some bastard carrying your filthy blood to be born? You can all go down there and apologize to Yo-Yo together. In the fire, I felt the baby stop moving inside me, perhaps because my resentment ran so deep. After I died, I never made it to reincarnation. Instead, I remained trapped by Gu Xingzhou's side. I watched him trample over my family's bones and live a life of luxury and excess, surrounded by women. Just as my resentment grew deeper and deeper, a beam of indescribable, breathtaking light flowed into my body. When I opened my eyes again, I found that I had been reborn. No matter what, this time around I have to keep my hopeless romantic tendencies in check and protect my family. As for everyone else, you're on your own. As I turned the corner, I suddenly caught a familiar figure out of the corner of my eye. Mou, the one Gu Xingzhou cherished most. She sat in the passenger seat of an olive green off-road vehicle, looking at everything in the alley with a teasing expression. How could she be here? Before I met Mou, everyone assumed Gu Xingzhou and I were a couple. When his classmates teased him, he openly said that the first thing he would do as an adult was marry me. That lasted until Mou transferred to the elite school and openly pursued Gu Xingzhou. I watched helplessly as his heart slowly drifted away from me. Until the gang fight in the alley happened, did she watch it all happen like this in her last life too? Seeing her turn around and search everywhere for something, I hurriedly stepped back around the corner. At the same time, my phone suddenly started vibrating. At the alley entrance at the end of Zhongxin Street, Gu Xingzhou is about to be beaten to death. Hurry up and save him. Though there was no name on it, I recognized it at a glance. It was Mouyu's number. At that moment, it felt as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head in the dead of winter, chilling me to the bone. Could it be that this had been a setup from beginning to end, a trap aimed at me? Trying hard to steady my emotions, I hid in a secluded spot and watched in secret. Mou sat there in a state of restless unease, looking around nervously. After Gu Xingzhou let out yet another inhuman scream of agony, she finally could not hold back any longer and called the few people waiting across the street to rush into the alley. After a fierce scuffle, Gu Qing fled in a hurry with his men. Moments later, Mou, with a wounded head, and her helpers came running out carrying Gu Xingzhou, who was covered in blood, hidden in the corner. I didn't miss the fleeting look of disgust in Mou's eyes when she glanced at Gu Xingzhou. Seems things are more interesting than I expected too. When I got home, my parents were sitting on the sofa, talking about something, sighing all the while. Seeing them again, I couldn't hold back my tears. "Oh, my dear baby, you've been wronged." Mrs. Ya walked up to me with a pained expression and pulled me into her arms. "If my dear baby really likes that boy Xingzhou, I'll talk to his parents and make sure he marries you. Even if he's disabled, it doesn't matter. Our Zheng family can take care of you." My parents loved me so deeply and sincerely. Thinking about how I had dragged them to a tragic death in my previous life, my heart ached unbearably, and I burst into tears. Seeing me cry like that, father immediately prepared to go find Gu Xingzhou's parents. "These are happy tears." I stopped him. "I'm just happy that we're all fine." Only when they were finally sure I wasn't grieving for Gu Xingzhou did they breathe a sigh of relief. Soon, the internet was flooded with news that the eldest young master of the Gu family had become disabled. Unlike me in my previous life, he hadn't suffered a spinal injury that left him paralyzed from the waist down. Instead, both his legs were shattered, the tendons in his hands were severed, and one of his eyes had been gouged out. TSK. Guchu really does hate him. After closing the computer, I went back to my problems. What I went through in my previous life taught me one thing. In this world, anyone can betray you, except yourself. With my parents' help, several top university graduates became my mentors. I had to absorb knowledge quickly and make the most of my second chance at life to help the company weather this financial crisis. Instead of choosing to ally with the Gu family, seeing me throw myself completely into my studies, my parents were terrified. From childhood to now, aside from Gu Xingzhou, I'd never seen them care so much about anything else to keep me from going off the rails. They pulled out all the stops to dig up every bit of news about Gu Xingzhou, vividly describing the miserable state he'd fallen into after falling for someone else, hoping to snap my rattled brain back into shape. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but one piece of information still caught my attention. As soon as Gu Xingzhou came to, he called the police and claimed that the one who had attacked him was his father's illegitimate son, Gu Qing. Once that claim started spreading online, Gu Qing immediately released a video of his itinerary from that day. I'm certain the man I saw committing the assault that day was Gu Qing, yet now he suddenly put out a video. That can only mean he planned all of this in advance. What about Mou? What was her motive for lurking near the scene all along? Secrets and scandals in wealthy elite families have always been the biggest draw for netizens. The discussion quickly exploded in popularity, even dragging in the Gu group and affecting its stock price. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I never really expected to go through life without ever seeing Gu Xingzhou again, but I also never thought we'd run into each other again this soon. 3. At the opening ceremony for the new semester, he sat in a wheelchair, being pushed into the grand hall by Mou. A bright green blanket covered his legs, hiding the lower half of his body completely. His hands hung weakly beside the armrests, and his left eye was covered by a black eye patch, with only his right eye visible. He stared at me with nothing but hatred. That vicious, unyielding gaze was like a cold venomous snake, ready to lunge at me and bite me to death at any moment. The agony of being scorched by fire before my death in my previous life surged over me again. My legs trembled, and I nearly couldn't stay on my feet. Jia, holding onto my arm, looked at me with concern. "You look terrible. Are you feeling okay? Do you want to go to the infirmary?" Fine. I wasn't mentally prepared to face a murderer head-on. Just as I turned to leave, Mou suddenly darted over and blocked my path. "Xing Xianyue, why did you just stand there and watch Xingzhou get beaten that day? Why didn't you step in to help?" When I met Gu Xingzhou's hate-filled eyes, I couldn't stop trembling. Mou's voice drew everyone's attention, and in an instant, all eyes were on me. I didn't see anything. I pulled the surveillance footage from that area, You were right there at the time. She took out her phone and opened a video, which clearly recorded the route I had taken at the time. By then, I had just realized I had been reborn, and I kept my distance from this matter, which could alter the course of my fate. I was afraid of being tainted by even the slightest part of it. In the video, I not only failed to look toward the entrance of the alley, I even quickened my pace and left. Jia flew into a rage at the sight. Are you blind? If Xianyue had seen it, how could she have walked away that fast? Everyone at school knows how much she likes Gu Xingzhou. If she had seen it, she'd have rushed over immediately to shield him from the blade. And now you're blaming Xianyue in front of everyone. What exactly are you trying to do? Looking at my friend's youthful face, my nose prickled with tears. In my past life, she was the only one who questioned my death, and in the end, Gu Xingzhou had someone run her over. Her family took a hefty payout. Far from holding the driver accountable, they happily took her body back to their hometown and sold it to an old man for a ghost marriage, pocketing even more money. Now that I've been reborn, I not only have to protect my family, but also my only friend. More people were drawn over. Yu immediately put on a wronged expression. If you're not guilty, then why haven't you visited Xingzhou while he's been hospitalized for so long? The students around them all cast suspicious looks. A week ago, Gu Xingzhou publicly accused me, in front of the entire school, of clinging to him and refusing to let go, of being so annoying that just thinking about me made him feel sick to his stomach. 3 days ago, you two made your relationship official in such a high-profile way. It's such a grievous sin to have once liked Gu Xingzhou. You've disgusted me to this point. And you still had the nerve to go to the hospital just to make yourself miserable. Yu was left speechless, sitting in her wheelchair. Gu Xingzhou, who had remained silent until then, snapped. Enough. Those icy eyes turned toward me, and I couldn't stop trembling. It felt as if the searing pain of being burned alive still lingered on my body. Xianyue, that incident the other day, was it a setup arranged by you and Gu Qing? Are you getting revenge on me? He publicly humiliated me a week ago. If I teamed up with the Gu family's illegitimate son to get back at him, it sounds perfectly reasonable. In an instant, everyone in the auditorium turned to me with suspicious looks. Gu Xingzhou beat someone so badly that they were left disabled. He's legally liable. If you have evidence, you should take it to the police station, not come here and make baseless accusations against others. He studied me with a sharp, piercing gaze for a long moment, said nothing, and then had Mou push him away. For some reason, Gu Xingzhou now gave me an unsettling feeling, and I couldn't shake the unease in my heart. By the time the freshman welcome ceremony ended, that bad feeling I'd had was proven right. At the entrance to the auditorium, someone covered my mouth and nose and dragged me up to the rooftop of the teaching building. Gu Xingzhou waved his hand, signaling everyone to step back. He rolled his wheelchair up to me, bent slightly, tipped my chin up, and forced me to meet his gaze. Xianyue, why didn't you save me this time? The one who should have ended up disabled was you. Before I could even process what he'd said, he waved his hand, and 2 thugs dragged me over to the railing. This was a 17-story building. Falling from here would mean certain death. Halfway out, I hurriedly shouted, Gu Xingzhou, look down. After going through one whole lifetime, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of him after he left. After saying something so cryptic, I asked Jia to call me every 2 minutes. If I didn't answer, she was to immediately gather our classmates and track my phone's location. Foreseeing the dense crowd of heads below the building, Gu Xingzhou's face turned terrifyingly dark. Grinding his teeth, he snarled, Xianyue, you've really done it now. By the time Jia came looking for him, Gu Xingzhou had already left with his bodyguards. She struggled to pull me back up. Who could be so vicious as to want to see you dead? Gu Xingzhou, call the police and arrest him. I held her hand down. The Gu family is deeply entrenched. This isn't the time to pick a fight. Jia pressed her lips together and silently took a bandage from her pocket, carefully dressing the wound on my hand from when I'd scraped it against the edge of the railing, which had been cut by a stone. It had been bright and sunny this morning, but now the sky had turned gloomy and oppressive, making it hard for me to breathe. Gu Xingzhou had been reborn. He hadn't planned to let me live. I just hadn't expected him to make his move again so soon. That night, when I went online, the internet was flooded with videos of me passing through the alley. Gu Xingzhou used his family's resources to pin me firmly to the shameful pillar of being a despicable man who, driven by love turned to hate, conspired with others to commit murder. Not only that, he also seized the moment and started a livestream. Gu Xingzhou, with limited use of his hands and feet and half his face wrapped in white cloth, looked especially pitiful. Before he even said a word, over 100,000 people had flooded into the livestream. Even if my appa is disabled, he's still so handsome. I want to marry him. I want to marry him. Who heard appa like this? that's way too cruel and vicious. Sisters, who's coming with me to get justice for Appa? Count me in. +1, +1. All of them below are enthusiastic netizens signing up. I suddenly realized what Gu Xingzhou was up to and thought, oh no. I hurriedly got up to pack my bags. Sweetheart, there's no time, come with us now. For the first time, my parents came into my room without knocking and grabbed me as they pulled me outside. Who would have thought that the doorway was already crowded with people? My father instinctively stepped in front of me. Who are you people? Why are you blocking my front door? Get lost. Or I'll call the police. No one paid any attention to my father. A sharp-looking woman was the first to speak. Ms. Zheng, young Master Gu says that, out of love turned to hate, you joined forces with Gu Qing, the Gu family's illegitimate son, to plot against him. Do you have anything to say about that? The evidence is right there. Why are you still listening to this vicious woman defend herself? Get in there and beat her. Avenge your brother. In the crowded mob, someone shouted that, and the crowd instantly erupted in fury. The situation quickly spun out of control. I really never expected Gu Xingzhou to be this despicable, trying to use public opinion to kill himself, but he didn't know that I had already died once too, so how could I possibly be brought down that easily? I, Jing Xianyue, have never harmed anyone. If you keep causing trouble without a shred of reason, I'm calling the police. The netizens swept up by public opinion had twisted, frenzied minds. The villa's heavy front door was being shoved so hard it creaked and groaned. Your accomplice, Gu Qing, is now wanted nationwide. What do you have left to deny? Suddenly, a bottle of mineral water came flying straight at me. I raised my hand to block it, and then all sorts of things started flying toward me. Seeing this, my father had no choice but to pull me into the room, arrange for me to leave through the back door, and stay behind to clean up the mess. I knew they were all after me. Staying would only make things worse, so I had no choice but to sneak out of the villa. But with the whole world so vast, where could I possibly hide? Should I go abroad and look for Auntie? I can't accept leaving like this with my tail between my legs. Jing Xianyue, long time no see. That familiar voice stirred the deepest fear in my heart. Gu Qing. I immediately turned to run. Only then did I realize my escape route had already been blocked by his men. For some reason, I suddenly calmed down, carefully studied the person in front of him, perhaps because they shared the same father. He actually looked a lot like Gu Xingzhou. He had the same phoenix eyes and aquiline nose, but years of hard labor had left his skin rough and dark. Unlike Gu Xingzhou, who had long been soaked in a life of luxury and excess, he lacked that refined air and instead had a touch of something more sinister. You've ruined me this badly, and now you think you can walk away unscathed. Aren't you a little too dismissive of me? I knew I couldn't afford to anger him right now, so I said softly, the person who hurt you was Gu Xingzhou. I cut ties with him long ago. Back when he publicly humiliated me. Gu Qing clearly didn't believe me. Holding a knife in one hand and me in the other, he dragged me all the way to a rundown warehouse and tied me to a pillar. On another pillar was the long unseen Mou. Bound there as well. Her face was deathly pale, her eyes red-rimmed, and the look she gave me was filled with venom. This never happened in my previous life. Looks like Gu Xingzhou and I were reborn, and we changed the course of events. 5. Gu Qing sat in a wicker chair with one leg crossed over the other, a crazed gleam flashing in his eyes. He spoke with an air of complete nonchalance. Between the woman Gu Xingzhou loves most and the woman who loves Gu Xingzhou most, who do you think he would choose if he could only pick one? His words sounded like a death knell, each syllable dragging me step by step into hell. Cut off one leg from each of them first, and send it to Gu Xingzhou as a meeting gift. I struggled desperately. But the rope binding my hands only grew tighter just as the thug, cleaver in hand, was closing in step by step. A familiar voice suddenly rang out at the door. Gu Qing, I strongly advise you to stop while you still can. Gu Qing burst into maniacal laughter. Gu Xingzhou, this feud between us will end only in death, and you still think a few words are enough to make me back off? Then what do you want? That depends on what they're worth to you. I only want Mou. At that moment, it felt as if I could hear my heart breaking. In my last life, I risked everything to save him and keep him from being crippled, yet he killed me with his own hands and built his empire on the bones of my family. Mou didn't die in this life, and his regret never came to pass, so why does he still want me dead? When we were kids, both of our parents were very busy, so we ate and went to school together, inseparable. In high school, when young hearts first began to stir, he once blushed as he handed me a bouquet of roses and insisted I promise to be with him for life. The love back then was real, and so is the overwhelming hatred now. The furious unwillingness crashing against my chest made my whole body tremble with pain. In that moment, my agony was no less than the despair of being burned alive in my past life. Withdraw the warrant on you, and I'll give you 100 million yuan. You'll never have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life." Gu Qing laughed even more wildly. 100 million, looks like you don't like this woman all that much after all. With that, he grabbed the cleaver beside him and swung it ruthlessly at Mouyu's head. 1 billion, Gu Qing said nothing. He turned the cleaver around and swung it at her right shoulder. 5 billion, that's the most I can offer. In the end, his machete only managed to cut the ropes binding Mouyu. Once the money comes through, you can take her with you. Hardly had he finished speaking when his phone rang. Gu Qing glanced at it and shoved Mouyu out. Gu Xingzhou looked her over, his face full of concern. "Hey, where's that childhood sweetheart of yours?" Gu Xingzhou's gaze turned as cold and sharp as frost. "Let her die here." With that, he wrapped an arm around Mouyu and walked away without looking back. I'd already cried all my tears dry, staring coldly at Gu Xingzhou's retreating figure as he held Mouyu and walked away without once looking back. Gu Xing leaned in like he was watching a joke. "Getting your true feelings trampled on and treated like crap. Fun, isn't it?" I wanted to argue, but I didn't know where to begin. Smack, I reached out and caught the slap he swung at me, smiling. "Gu Qing, how about we make a deal?" 6. Soon, another video went viral online. It was the video of Gu Qing kidnapping me and Mouyu and extorting a huge sum of money from Gu Xingzhou. The video was edited, and I was nowhere to be seen from start to finish. As soon as the video dropped, it blew up across the internet, and Gu Xing once again became public enemy number 1. At that moment, I was taking Jeju abroad with me. It was Jeju's first time on a plane, and she was beyond excited, looking around and touching everything in sight. In the end, she thanked me sincerely. Before I could say a word, she finally dropped the brave face she had been putting on and broke down in loud, wrenching sobs. I gently patted her trembling shoulder, my heart filled with mixed emotions. That morning, as soon as I arrived at school, I happened to see 2 men and a woman dragging Jejia and trying to stuff her into a van by the roadside. It was Jejia's parents and younger brother. They were planning to sell her to a wealthy man back in their hometown to bring him good luck. In my past life, it was a ghost marriage. In this one, it's a marriage to bring luck. I paid 10 times what they asked, 300,000 yuan, to sever the family bond between them. Once they got the money, they left without even looking back. The pain of cutting off 20 years of attachment was no less than being flayed alive. No comfort could make it seem any less hollow. All I can do is stay by her side. I didn't leave this time to avoid Gu Xingzhou, but to tear down his lair since he's determined to have me killed. It's time I fought back. The Gu family made its fortune through the underworld, and with the authorities tightening the screws in recent years, they're in a hurry to reinvent themselves. In the previous life, they got through the first wave of transformation by marrying into the Jing family. Right now, he's making a grand public proposal to Mouyu. He must have completely forgotten about that shipment docked at Qing'ao port. In my previous life, my father sensed something was off. Thinking we were about to get married, he moved the cargo into the Jing family warehouse overnight and helped them escape disaster. When I got married, I brought the dowries from the 2 dock bosses with me into the Gu family, putting the Gu family firmly on the road to going fully legit. Li Qiubai's home wasn't easy to find. We spent 3 days wandering around London before we finally located his address. It was a dilapidated house on the outskirts, barely 20 square meters in size. By then, he was unshaven and gaunt, with none of the youthful vigor or passionate zeal I had seen the first time we met in my past life. Nor did he look anything like he did in the despair and pain of his final moments. I got straight to the point. I wanted to buy the patent for the next generation robot he had developed. He seemed to grasp it after a moment, then nodded and agreed without hesitation. Maybe my shocked expression was too obvious. He said awkwardly, "I haven't eaten in 2 days. That thing is just waste paper to me." Everything was going far more smoothly than I had imagined. A month later, I poured all my savings into supporting Li Qiubai's R&D, and it paid off with tremendous success. With my father's introduction, we secured a partnership with London's most prestigious tech company. Through my conversations with my father, I also learned about the situation back home. The Gu family's smuggled goods were seized, and they now face breach of contract penalties totaling over 100 billion yuan. With nowhere else to turn, Gu Xingzhou actually went to the Jing family for help. He shamelessly claimed that if my father had properly hidden his goods, none of this would have happened. This enraged my father so much that he flew into a rage and immediately called in the bodyguards to throw him out. In the end, he said worriedly, "Sweetie, be careful." Gu Xingzhou left for London this morning. 7. He wanted to use the next generation robotics patent to stage a major comeback. In his previous life, his second transformation had been winning Li Qiubai's patent. He painted the other party a rosy picture and hired him as chief R&D officer to lead the robotics development. Li Qiubai thought his dream was finally about to come true. So he worked tirelessly and dared not slack off for even a moment. Who would have thought that once the robot was successfully listed, all of Li Qiubai's efforts would be stolen by Gu Xingzhou. To keep him from talking nonsense, they cut out his tongue, broke his limbs, and dumped him on the outskirts in the freezing snow, where he was left to freeze to death under the title of a rising tech star. Gu Xingzhou successfully whitewashed the Gu family. I just didn't expect him to appear in front of me so soon. I hadn't seen Gu Xingzhou in 2 months, and he'd grown so thin I almost didn't recognize him. Xianyue, long time no see. Time is the best medicine for healing everything. And it seems that's true after all. I no longer tremble at the sight of him like I did when I first came back to life. I knew it. You've always had me in your heart. Didn't you develop the robot for me? When something went wrong with the shipment at home, I thought you really didn't care about me anymore, but the person I sent to London said you'd already gotten in touch with Li Qiubai and started developing the robot. I knew it. You love me that much. How could you ever do something to hurt me? Get me all the progress on the robot's development right now. The company's run into some trouble, and we urgently need the robot to get us back on our feet. I really didn't expect that, even after things had come to this point, he would still be so naive. I took a deep breath and smiled. Do you know why I was able to walk out of that warehouse in one piece? Gu Xingzhou's smile froze for a moment, but he still forced himself to keep his voice steady. Xianyue, I've got prosthetics and an artificial eye now, so I can live normally. Let what happened in the warehouse be a small punishment. I don't blame you. From now on, let's be together properly. As long as you don't make a scene in front of Yo-Yo, I'll take good care of you and spoil you forever. I ignored his barking and went straight on. The reason I was able to walk out alive is because I told Gu Qing about the dirty things the Gu family had done. The shipment in the warehouse was the first issue. The buyer immediately demanding compensation was the second. As the words left my mouth, his expression grew darker and darker. Li Qiubai was the third one. I met his incredulous gaze head-on. You've tried to have me killed more than once, and now you want me to be your secret mistress. Gu Xingzhou, you're disgusting. Gu Xingzhou clenched both fists, his face dark with anger, looking as if he wanted nothing more than to tear me apart on the spot. But soon, he put on a warm smile again. Xianyue, love gives rise to hatred. I know you're doing all this because you love me too much. As long as you hand over the R&D materials for the smart robot, I'll forgive everything that happened before. Ha ha ha. This time, I wasn't the one laughing. Gu Xingzhou's face changed drastically. He quickly stepped back. Gu Qing, what are you doing here? Gu Qing raised an eyebrow, wearing a mischievous grin. Here to watch the joke of a fallen dog. Before Gu Xingzhou could even retort, another person he least expected popped out from behind Gu Qing. He stared in shock, eyes wide. Yu, come here quickly. Yu smiled, and the dimple at the corner of her mouth was especially adorable. With not a trace of the overbearing attitude she had at school, she tilted her head innocently and called out sweetly, brother, why you? What did you just call him? Gu Xingzhou, I've never introduced my family to you before. With that, she pushed Gu Qing forward. This is my biological brother, and Lu Xiaoya is my birth mother. By the end, boundless hatred had risen in her clear eyes. The revelation left Gu Xingzhou reeling, nearly unable to stand. I'd heard this name countless times in my previous life, during the arguments between Gu Xingzhou and his father. It seemed to be Gu's father's mistress. So you came close to me for revenge. Gu Qing couldn't stand the way he kept dragging things out and shoved Mou aside. I'm 3 years older than you. My mom is the wife of that old bastard, and your mom is the shameless mistress. You've always called me a bastard, a mongrel, but the truth is, you're the one. No, I don't believe it. You're lying to me. You're all liars. Gu Qing didn't waste words with him. He called in the thugs hiding in the shadows, had them pin down his arms and legs, removed the prosthetic device, and then brutally gouged out his artificial eye. You killed my mother and you still want to live in luxury. Spit. Gu Qing spat on the ground. I'll send you to a great place. The people there really like pretty boys like you. Gu Xingzhou went pale. Xianyue, help me. We grew up together. Have you forgotten? Of course I haven't forgotten. And I haven't forgotten how you drove me to my death. I stepped up close to his ear and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, our child is watching from heaven, watching your comeuppance. At last, he realized that I had been reborn too. He finally showed the look of despair I'd been hoping for. After finishing with him, I turned to look at my two allies. From now on, send me more photos of Gu Xingzhou in pain and despair. They'll really make my day. No, I'm not kidding. Mou let out a long breath. I really thought you were the type who'd fall head over heels in love. After saying that, she fidgeted awkwardly and said, I'm sorry about what happened before. I thought you were completely in love with Gu Xingzhou. and I was afraid you'd ruin our plan, so I targeted you. I'm sorry, in my past life, that was indeed the case, but now, this is a whole new life. 8 After that, I never saw Guqing and Mou again. From time to time, though, an unknown number would send me photos of Gu Xingzhou in a pitiful state, because their goods were held up. Gu's father and mother were ruined, forced to pay the breach of contract penalty out of pocket, and because of the years they spent in the underworld, they offended plenty of people and were often ambushed and beaten with bags over their heads. Now they've been reduced to begging on the streets. Even so, the plastic bottles they collect are still often snatched away. I used to be way too flashy and high profile. Even though I'm down on my luck now, plenty of people still keep an eye on me. You can often find ridiculous clips of them sitting in the middle of the road, bawling their eyes out with no dignity at all. Enough to keep a whole bunch of video editors online busy. Since the smart robot went public, things have been looking great. Jia helps run the entire company, and when her vampire-like parents found out she had money, they wanted to latch on and bleed her dry. Jia is decisive now. She directly had someone give them a beating and warned that if they ever showed up again, she'd beat them every time she saw them. That scared them so badly they slunk back to their hometown and never dared come looking for her again. One night, in my sleep, a baby with big, round, sparkling eyes like purple grapes wobbled up to me and called me mommy in a soft, sweet voice. Just as I reached out to hug him, he suddenly turned into a beam of indescribably beautiful light and flew away. When I woke up, a large part of my pillow was soaked with tears. The end. That's it for the first story. Don't go anywhere, because the next one is even more exciting. Before the college entrance exam, the campus beauty found me and asked me to help pass a love letter to my top student deskmate. I refused. Their grades were too far apart, so they went their separate ways and never ended up together. Jiang Xingyue became the white moonlight in Gu Yan's heart, his lifelong obsession. Years later, after he had made a name for himself, he brought up the past. By then, Jiang Xingyue was a married superstar, and she expressed her regret. They ruined my life once again. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before the college entrance exam. I casually grabbed the classmate next to me and said, "The teacher's looking for me. Tell him to come here." 1. Xiaoshu, could you help me put this on Gu Yan's desk? The moment I opened my eyes, I still hadn't recovered from the heart-stopping drop from a great height or the piercing pain in the top of my head. I stared blankly at the pink note paper being handed to me. In my previous life, I turned my head to avoid it, didn't stop walking, and went straight to the teacher's office with my workbook to find the teacher. After failing the college entrance exam, the school beauty blamed everything on me, saying I had deliberately kept her and the boy sitting next to her from understanding each other, and that she only did badly because her mind was in turmoil. She shed tears with that gorgeous face of hers, while saying the most heartless things amid everyone's abuse. I became the sinner who tore apart the perfect golden couple, the jealous, dark-hearted, vicious other woman. Because I went to the same university as Gu Yan, people always pointed fingers at me, and I spent 4 years keeping my head down. He resented me, even hated me. He blamed me for not letting them understand each other's feelings, and hated me for causing him to lose the one he loved forever. My personal information was leaked, and I was cursed out by countless people. After my mom died in a car accident, I jumped from the roof of my high school. Why did I refuse? Because I had my own little secret feelings. I had liked Gu Yan for 8 years. He was the boy I'd liked since I was young, and I didn't want to push him towards someone else. When Gu Yan was 8, he moved in next door with his parents. Our families did business together, so we naturally grew quite close. On top of that, Gu Yan's parents were always away on business trips, so my mother would bring him over to our place for meals. I was a little troublemaker growing up, and my parents often said I didn't have a bit of a girl's manner about me. I was more of a tomboy. Gu Yan, on the other hand, was very quiet, quietly reading, quietly eating, and quietly helping me clean up the mess I left behind. We were like the waning moons of the first and second halves of the month. Together, we made a perfect whole. Every day after school, he walked beside me, listening with a smile as I chattered away. Every now and then, he'd tug at me to remind me to watch the road. Gu Yan, let's go to the best university together in the future. Okay, I used to think we'd keep walking this path together forever. Adolescence is always a time of dramatic change. Gu Yan shot up all at once, and his features grew even more handsome, his face sharply defined. As for me, I could only be called pretty at best. People stopped calling us the perfect childhood sweethearts and started calling us friends who grew up together. I could sense the change acutely. The love I had nurtured for years turned sour and lodged in my chest, leaving me unable to speak it aloud anymore. My thoughts snapped back to the present. In front of me were Jiang Xinyue's faintly taunting eyes and brows, I casually pulled the classmate beside me over and said, "The teacher is looking for me, let him go." After tossing out those cold words, I took my workbook and headed toward the office. On the way, I quickly sorted out my situation, since I'd been given a second chance. "I absolutely would not get involved with you too, you cheating scumbag, and that shameless woman. I will never let you ruin my life again." After a moment's thought, I went into the office to see my homeroom teacher. "Teacher, I've been having a little trouble with my eyes lately, and I can't see the blackboard very well. Could I move up to a seat closer to the front? Xiao Zhou is on extended sick leave, and her seat has been empty. Could I sit there?" My homeroom teacher agreed without hesitation. After all, I was one of the top 10 students in my grade, so I went back to the classroom rubbing my eyes hard and packed up my school bag. "Xiao Shu, what did the head teacher want with you? Were you crying? Did he yell at you?" The classmate in front turned around and asked with concern. No, my eyes seem to be a little off. I made quite a few mistakes last time when copying the notes from the blackboard, so the teacher called me over to ask about it. He also said I should move to the front for now so I wouldn't keep making mistakes." With Gu Yan away from his seat, the classmate in front started gossiping to me about everything that had just happened. "Xiao Shu, the school beauty just handed a love letter to your desk mate, a confession." He read it and then left. "Do you think they'll end up together?" I straightened my desk, swallowed the lump in my throat, and nodded hard. Yes. Before long, rumors that the school beauty and the school prince were dating spread like wildfire, even catching the teacher's attention. Gu Yan was the school's top contender for valedictorian, and he'd been heavily groomed for it since freshman year. The teachers kept dropping subtle hints in class, but none of them dared push him too hard. Gu Yan did come to me. He said, "Qiao Qiao, why did you change seats? And why have you been ignoring me lately?" I let out a sigh, looked him straight in the eye, and said seriously, "Gu Yan, we grew up together. Don't play dumb about how I feel for you. Since you have a girlfriend now, I'm going to let go of my feelings for you." Gu Yan looked away guiltily. "You're family to me. I never meant to hurt you." I thought to myself, is that so? Yet you'll leave me with a heart full of arrows, torn to pieces, and still insist you'd never hurt me. Such a hypocrite. No, let's leave it at that. We're just classmates now. And I don't like you anymore either. I don't want to get mixed up in your business. Let's stop here. From now on, you go your way and I'll go mine." Gu Yan mumbled for a long time but still didn't say another word. I used to love how quiet he was. Now I loathed his indecisiveness. Later, he was so wrapped up in the sweetness of love that he had even less time to pay attention to me. He was busy making sure he got his girlfriend home on time, so we wouldn't be going home together anymore either. Under the streetlights, my shadow stretched out thin and long. In the end, this road would have to be one I walked alone too. In the days that followed, I poured all my energy into doing practice questions. I shut out the world and focused on my studies. During class, I listened carefully for the full 40 minutes, and whenever there was a break, I'd go to the teacher's office to ask questions. Late at night, when everything was quiet, I worked on problems, and from time to time, I couldn't help but shed tears. Days like this, so peaceful, really, truly, wonderful. No one banging frantically on the door at home, no phone ringing nonstop, and no endless stream of insults. I deliberately stayed away from the class gossip, avoiding any news about Gu Yan and Jiang Xinyue, but I couldn't help listening and watching, and even wickedly hoped things would end badly for them. Gu Yan really was different from before. In the past, during breaks, he would sit at his desk reading and doing practice problems, and help answer his classmates' questions, but now he seemed to be sitting on pins and needles, anxiously waiting for the bell to ring, and would come in at the last second when the class bell rang, looking disappointed, especially in the final sprint, when everyone in the class was head down and quietly doing problems. Gu Yan's footsteps became all the more noticeable. They hugged in a small grove and kissed in secluded corners, quietly making sure everyone knew they were in love. In the dull, grinding push toward the college entrance exam, they were a rare source of gossip. A handsome boy and a beautiful girl, the school heartthrob and the campus beauty. If the two of them really joined forces, it would have been quite a story. Too bad the campus beauty was really just a pretty face. She couldn't rise above it, and she wanted to drag Gu Yan down with her. Sure enough, once the mock exam results came out, Gu Yan came crashing off his pedestal, and his legend of staying in first place was broken for good. While he was tenderly caressing his lover's cheek, someone else would master a single knowledge point and move up 3 places. While he was lost in his lover's sweet voice, someone else would finish an entire book of mock exam questions and move up 3 more places. In the end, the Dean of Discipline stepped in and forbade Gu Yan and Jiang Xingyue from seeing each other again. after every class, the dean would stand guard at the back door of the classroom, and Gu Yen could finally stay in his seat. But at this age, the more a love is opposed by thousands and blocked by tens of thousands, the more deeply it sinks into the bones. The final days slipped by amid the teacher's scolding of Gu Yen, and before long, the college entrance exam arrived. With a kind of divine help, I kept writing nonstop and performed beyond my usual level. Xiaoshu, it's finally over. How do you think you did? The girl sitting in front of me smiled and hooked her arm through mine. I felt like I wrote really smoothly. I hope I get a good score. The girl in front of me had great grades, usually ranking in the top 20 in the grade on mock exams. Did you hear? Gu Yan left all the big questions blank on the second half of his last exam paper. Is he crazy or what? Did he lose his mind? I couldn't help sucking in a sharp breath. Seriously, has he lost his mind? I was sitting just behind and off to the side of him. I saw it when we left the classroom. His whole side was completely white. It was impossible to miss, even though I had already guessed as much. I still couldn't quite believe it. Gu Yan had actually fallen this far for Jiang Xingyue. He'd studied hard for more than 10 years. And I knew how much he had been through. Uncle and auntie had sacrificed so much for his future, only hoping he'd get into a good university, have a bright future, and be able to live an easier life. Precisely because I had seen Aunt Gu dragging Gu Yan around to competitions, her face sallow and her eyes dark with exhaustion, and I had seen Gu Yan holding trophies, shining with the clean brilliance of someone racing toward his dream. So now, the Gu Yan of today has completely rotted and stank in my mind. Honestly, I look down on him. I'm not afraid of him anymore. We're no longer from the same world, so it doesn't matter. The class had gathered at KTV for a get-together, and Gu Yan had brought Jiang Xingyue along too. The moment Jiang Xingyue showed up, all the conversation shifted to the two of them. It's our class get-together. Why bring her along? She's an outsider. Doesn't her own class have a private room? Why is she hanging around here? Gradually, people in the class started whispering among themselves. With an outsider there, everyone naturally became a bit more reserved, and the atmosphere was no longer as lively, especially now that everyone knew Gu Yan had deliberately not turned in his paper for her. People no longer looked at him with the same admiration or politeness as before. Oh, I heard Xiaoshu grew up with our Gu Yan, their childhood sweethearts. Jiang Xingyue's sweet, sing-song voice floated toward me. I was holding a plate of cake, not even bothering to look up, too lazy to pay her any mind. I've always envied relationships like that. Too bad I grew up on my own. Another stretch of silence. Xiaoshu, are you mad at me? Don't tell me. You're upset that I'm with Guyan because you like our Guyan. I sighed, put down the plate, and took a tissue to wipe my mouth. No, I don't like him. You two are a good match. Jiang Xingyue still wouldn't let it go. I know, it's only natural to have a bit of a crush on an older brother you grew up with. I won't take it to heart. She was deliberately pinning the label of liking Gu Yan on me, and doing it in a situation like this. Sometimes I really didn't understand why she always had to keep hovering around me. When I'd hardly spoken to Gu Yan at all these past few months, I looked at Gu Yan, wanting to see what his reaction would be. Was he really just going to let his girlfriend act so unreasonably? Gu Yan avoided my gaze, but still took Jiang Xinyue's hand. Xiaoshu is my childhood friend. You're overthinking it. Yeah, let's go check out your classes. Private room. The person in front leaned over and said to me, at least they've got a conscience. Are these two out of their minds? A class reunion, and they come here to flaunt their relationship. So tacky. Feeling the vague, lingering stares of my classmates around me, I knew I couldn't just sit here and wait. I picked up the drink in front of me, stood up, and said to everyone, maybe they had a little married couple spat. I have no idea why it got dragged onto me. We've all been burying our heads in practice problems these past few months and working ourselves to the bone. I've been seriously wronged. The classmate sitting in the row ahead of us chimed in at just the right moment with some playful banter. So are we part of their little play too? As soon as he said that, everyone burst out laughing and raised their glasses. I said in a ringing voice, classmates, the light boat has already passed through 10,000 mountains. As young people full of spirit, we can ride that momentum and make our mark. Come on, cheers. Let's keep the music going, and keep dancing. 3. When the college entrance exam results came out, everyone was stunned. Gu Yan was even more depraved and insane than we had imagined. Seconds after the system opened the score-checking channel, a crisp crash of shattered dishes came from next door. Then came a fierce round of arguing and wailing. I did exceptionally well on the exam, and before my parents could even fully bask in the joy, they heard an over-the-top commotion from next door. What's going on with the Gu family? Should we go take a look? I quickly grabbed my parents' hands and said, no, don't. Gu Yan and I fell out a long time ago, and he even had his girlfriend make things difficult for me at the class reunion. Dad said angrily. Why didn't you tell me about this? Did they bully you? That little punk. I'm going to teach him a lesson. I pulled him back hard again. No, I fought back against all of them. Anyway, let's just keep our distance from now on. Listening to the argument next door, I felt bad for Uncle and Auntie, but I also couldn't help feeling a little smug. Around this time in my previous life, my photo had been posted on the school forum, and the comments were full of curses and abuse aimed at me as the mistress, along with nasty remarks about my looks. I was just an ordinary girl, and by no means unattractive, yet I was subjected to endless verbal abuse and personal attacks. I hid under the covers, crying as I scrolled through those comments. The joy of earning such good grades vanished in an instant. I was crushed by a tsunami of pain, barely able to breathe. In the end, even when it came time to go back to school and fill out my college application choices, I only dared to let my mom do it. During what should have been the best vacation of my life, I just stayed cooped up at home, too afraid to go out and run into someone who knew me now, to reward me for my good grades. Our whole family is going on a trip together. We took in the canyon river shimmering like golden. The sunlight, awestruck by the endless mountain ranges stretching for thousands of miles under the vast and boundless sky, I suddenly found peace. Seeing a land with no borders and hearing nothing but utter silence, I suddenly understood what rebirth meant. Revenge and vengeance were only a small part of it. There was no need to waste time fixating on them. I truly began to let go of Gu Yan and Jiang Xinyue, no longer running away or being afraid. The distance between us had already grown wider. In the class group chat, there would occasionally be some discussion about Gu Yan. Gu Yan, once a top candidate with over 700 points, had completely blown it himself and ended up with less than 600. Even so, he still scored dozens of points higher than Jiang Xinyue. While I was on the road, Aunt Gu called me. Her throat sounded hoarse from crying, and her voice was weak and drained. Halfway through the call, she couldn't even make a sound anymore, so Uncle Gu took the phone. Uncle Gu wasn't doing well either. According to my dad, he was distracted, and he'd recently made a lot of mistakes in business, getting criticized by people in the industry several times. I didn't say anything. I comforted Aunt Gu a little, then hung up. As I listened to my dad chattering on beside me, I knew our family had already helped them many times, but with Uncle Gu's current reputation, we didn't dare get involved anymore. You see, one person's selfishness can destroy a family. In the same way, one person's growth can make a family thrive. He came home with a pile of local specialties and gifts, and just as he reached the building, he spotted someone crouching on the window next door. Crouching, yes, crouching. Gu Yan was balancing on the window frame, crouched on the windowsill, leaning out to inspect the thick pipe beside it. Seemingly hearing Aunt Gu's shout, Gu Yan lost his grip while clinging to the pipe and fell straight down. My parents went ghost white with fear and rushed over to check on him. I pulled out my phone and called 120. Luckily, the third floor wasn't all that high. Gu Yan had even slid quite a distance down the pipe, so his life wasn't in danger, but his left leg was broken. I looked down at the boy on the ground clutching his leg in pain and suddenly felt as if I didn't know him at all. I had seen his youthful confidence and swagger, and I had also seen his composed steadiness after he made something of himself. But who was this person now? As I watched the ambulance disappear into the distance, a package arrived. It was an acceptance letter from a top university. It doesn't matter anymore. My future is shining bright. For after all that commotion, Aunt Gu gave in, and Gu Yan and Jiang Xinyue ended up attending an ordinary university together. When I arrived at the new campus, I relied on the memories from my previous life and my relentless effort in this one. And my grades were always among the best. I finally figured out what I wanted to do, what kind of person I wanted to become. My dream really had taken me back to childhood. I wanted to become a scientist, so when it came time to choose my major, I went with nuclear engineering. Nuclear engineering was a completely new field for me. Every day felt full and fulfilling. I wasn't as smart as other people, so I could only work a little harder than they did. Even though I was studying so hard every day my hair was practically falling out, I was still thrilled and excited. From freshman to junior year, I actively took part in all kinds of competitions, and I kept a close eye on every research opportunity announced by the school. At first, I had no experience and could only win a participation award. Later, as I gained more and more experience and learned more and more, I was able to bring home gold medals and national awards. After collecting enough awards, I finally applied for the chance to join a lab in the second semester of my junior year. Although I was still too young, I was outstanding enough for the school to grant me special permission to work in the lab. Though I was only helping my senior classmates and lab mates with the odds and ends, I learned a great deal and got to see all kinds of atoms, radiation, and countless ingenious instruments up close. After I persuaded them, my parents gradually moved the family business to Kyoto, our quality of life dipped a little. But the potential for future growth was enormous. Whenever I had time, I'd go home to have meals and go on picnics with my parents, cherishing every second I spent with them. By the time I graduated in my senior year, I was already skilled at operating most of the lab equipment and capable of taking part in projects and discussions. The grad student sister and brother were a couple, and they practically raised me like their own daughter. I was genuinely happy over those 4 years. I occasionally heard about Gu Yan and Jiang Xingyue. They kept breaking up and getting back together. The whole thing was pretty melodramatic. In my previous life, Gu Yan had become well known in academic circles by his senior year, and even as an undergraduate he had already published several first author papers of his own, which were highly valuable. Many labs were eyeing him and trying to recruit him, but this time, he was indeed obscure. Who even knew who Gu Yan was? He was obsessed with petty romantic feelings, especially ill-timed and misguided love affairs, trapping himself in a well. Even the most gifted eagle, if raised among chickens, will struggle to learn how to fly. In my 3rd year of graduate school, 3 of us, my senior classmates and I, worked together on a national-level project to develop ways to use nuclear resources to actively improve weapons. The 3 of us had already been registered with the National Research Institute, appointed as trainee researchers, and earmarked for special training. I had also authored several first author papers of a very high caliber, and one of them even appeared in an international scientific journal. By now, many people knew of a rising star in the research world, Xiao Shu. At last, I was surrounded by goodwill, praise, and a good reputation. The school provided us with a new laboratory, outfitted with more sophisticated and advanced equipment, and the lab was also subject to a very high level of security and confidentiality. During an atomic conversion experiment, there was a tiny mistake in the proportions, but the result was anything but small. A minor explosion went off inside the sealed lab box. It made quite a racket and alerted our advisor downstairs. Although we only had a few minor scrapes, the advisor still bundled the 3 of us into the car and floored it straight to the hospital. While I was waiting in line to register, I saw Gu Yan. He was still tall and very thin, but his skin had gotten rougher than I remembered. His eyes were no longer as bright, and his clothes were a little wrinkled. Our eyes met. He was holding a registration slip and tugged awkwardly at the corner of his mouth. Chow chow. What are you doing here? Are you sick? It had been so long since I'd heard that name that I didn't react right away. Gu Yan, long time no see. I just have a minor scrape, so I came to the hospital to get it checked out and pick up some medicine while I'm here. I see. Chow chow. You look much prettier now. Are you working? No, I'm still in school. I'm doing some research work now. The conversation was pretty dry, and we were both running out of things to say. Ian, I'm done over here. Jiang Xinyue's voice came from the left. She was still very pretty, but the heavy makeup made her seem a little more gaudy than before. I glanced at the department behind her and couldn't make it out clearly, but the area was full of pregnant women with round bellies, so I immediately understood. This is Xiao Shu. Wow, I almost didn't recognize you. When Jiang Xinyue saw me, she froze for a moment, then visibly panicked. She clutched Gu Yan's arm with both hands, held on tightly, and looked up at him. The senior sister sitting next to her nudged the senior brother with her foot. He got the message and quickly stood up. Xiao Shu, it's our turn. The professor is still waiting over there. Let's go. The senior brother was very tall and handsome. At nearly 6'3", he was extremely imposing. When he stood up, he put an arm around my shoulders and led me off. I was slightly taken aback, and could only go along with his lead, greeting everyone as we left. Once we were out of sight, my senior let go. So, how's that? Wasn't I considerate enough, senior? I looked at my senior awkwardly. Senior sister smiled. It's nothing. I asked him to do it. The vibe just now was clearly off, so let your senior brother help you save face. I affectionately hooked my arm through senior sister's. Thank you, senior sister. Love you, senior sister. 5. After leaving university, I continued my studies at the Research Institute for several more years and took part in several major national research projects. By now, I can even be respectfully addressed as Professor Chow. Maybe because I've been so busy poring over materials and running experiments, I've worn myself out quite a bit. I've gotten much thinner than before, and my features look sharper too. On top of that, all those years of quiet accumulation have given me a calm, composed, and graceful demeanor. When the TV station came to the Research Institute for an interview, my colleagues had me go on camera and do the talking. My popular science lecture on nuclear engineering was broadcast on CCTV and racked up over 100 million views on short-form video platforms, so I had a bit of a moment. So whenever there are popular science lectures or interviews like that, the research institute sends me out to represent it. I've been in relationships too, but none of them ever led to marriage. It's not that I don't want to get married. I date to meet my emotional needs and make my life feel a little more complete. It's just the icing on the cake. They never made me want to get married. I'd only just broken free from the chains of a dead-end life, and I have no desire to shackle myself with marriage too. Besides, I've been living at the research institute for years. If I also took on the burden of marriage, children, and raising them, it would be far too much. Chances are, trying to balance the two will leave me with neither. At a high school reunion, we decided to meet in a private room at a restaurant. Quite a few people showed up. But Gu Yan didn't. After everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, the conversation started flowing. When the topic turned to me, they all began teasing me. Xiao Shu, you're amazing. My son was watching one of your lectures just the other day. He admires you so much. Exactly. We should be calling you Professor Chow now. I saw that new breakthrough they reported in the news before. You were the main person in charge, right? You're probably the most knowledgeable person in our class now, right? Gu Yan was also really outstanding academically back then. As soon as he said that, quite a few people fell silent for a moment. People couldn't help thinking of Gu Yan, the once celebrated genius student, who now had all but faded into obscurity. It was a little regretful, so the conversation shifted to Gu Yan. I invited him. I thought he'd come and have dinner with us. Sigh. Still, he really did help me work through a lot of problems back then. You know, I only really understood a lot of the key points after asking him. He explained things incredibly well. What a shame. I wonder how things are going between him and that campus beauty now. Those two were pretty well known at that university. There were always posts about them on the school forum. No idea how things are now. The person in front leaned over to my ear and whispered, I know, they got married. I remembered seeing the two of them in the maternity clinic at the hospital before. And it all made sense. Their child must be a few years old by now. The person in front added, they only got married because they had a kid, so they never even had the nerve to hold a wedding. But I heard a few days ago that they might have gotten divorced. I don't know if it's true. I was a little surprised, but I didn't feel anything else. Next, the girl in front of me filled me in on the gossip from Gu Yan's school forum. Gu Yan and Jiang Xinhua drew attention the moment they got to campus. They were both incredibly good-looking and were regulars on the confession wall. At first, Gu Yan really was studying hard. People would often sneak photos of him studying in the library, which made Jiang Xinhua jealous to no end. So, starting one day, Jiang Xinhua began showing up at the library too. But how could she possibly be the kind of person who could sit down quietly and study? Bored out of her mind, Jiang Xinhua went looking for trouble with Gu Yan, and the noise she made even ended up on the forum. But this time, it was a rant post. Gu Yan was probably embarrassed too, so he stopped going to the library very often. Not only did he have to keep up with his own major, he also had to think of ways to coax Jiang Xinhua into studying. You can't do two things at once, and Gu Yan's grades had always been so-so. With the school's already limited resources, they were even less likely to go to him now. Gu Yan and Jiang Xinhua got their marriage license in their senior year, which caused a bit of a stir. Jiang Xinhua even posted their marriage certificate online to stake her claim. As I was reading, the classmate in front of me suddenly chimed in, you see how Jiang Xinhua is always getting jealous? Well, she never turns down anyone who flirts with her. Gu Yan gets jealous too. Birds of a feather flock together. They're both so dramatic. I asked curiously, what happened with the divorce? The classmate in front thought for a moment and lowered her voice. Apparently, Jiang Xinhua was caught cheating. That's when Gu Yan finally grew a backbone for once. He dragged her straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get divorced. Didn't even fight for custody of the kid. I couldn't help but marvel. Who would have thought the wheel of fate would turn out this way? And all it took to change everything was a love letter. That single sheet of paper separated two very different lives. 6. After my parents moved to Kyoto, they threw themselves into the business, doubled it, and made plenty of connections. Once I got into the research institute, they were even more thrilled, full of energy, and both of them looked much healthier too. They kept saying they wanted to grow the business bigger and stronger, and make sure they lived a few more years too. That way, if I ever botched a project and got locked up, they could still find someone to help get me out. I found it amusing, but seeing how fired up and full of energy they were, I just let them be. On weekends, our family's routine is making dumplings together. I only know how to roll the wrappers, so I just sit off to the side and watch Mom prepare the filling. All of a sudden, Mom's phone rang on the table. It was Aunt Gu calling. Mom stirred the bowl with her chopsticks and said to me, Xiaoshu, can you answer it? Mom's busy. I pressed the answer button. Hello, Aunt Gu. After a brief silence on the other end, Gu Yan's tired voice came through. Xiao Shu, it's me, Gu Yan, what's up? My mom's busy right now. You can tell me, Xiao Shu, my mom's been hospitalized and needs surgery at Kyoto Hospital, but we still can't get her scheduled, so, could you please help us pull some strings? Before I could say anything, Gu Yan quickly added, my mom's condition is a bit complicated, and we really can't wait any longer. I'm truly begging you. I thought it over and said, I know the department head at Kyoto Hospital, send me the detailed information, and I'll help you get in touch. When Aunt Gu was in surgery, my mom and I took some dumplings to the hospital. Gu Yan was sitting on the chair outside the ward, looking exhausted and gaunt, with dark stubble coming in and red-rimmed eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in a long time. Mom handed Gu Yan some dumplings and urged her to eat something. Gu Yan swallowed with difficulty, silent and speechless, looking utterly miserable. I thought he was pathetic, but I didn't pity him in my past life. When he stood above it all and fanned the flames of online hate against me, I was even more pitiful. I was even more pitiful the moment I leaped from the rooftop. But back then, who was there to feel sorry for me? After the surgery, the attending doctor explained the situation. This operation could only ease the patient's suffering. It would not stop the condition from getting worse. The symptoms were already in the advanced stage. There was no saving her. Aunt Gu probably only had about 2 months left. Gu Yan stumbled out of the ward, sat down, and buried his face deeply in his hands. I asked him, why did Aunt Gu suddenly get sick? She had always been in great health before. Gu Yan seemed to suddenly lose all strength and broke down in tears. It's all my fault. All my fault. The doctor said this illness was caused by prolonged worry and distress. I made her angry too many times. I've let her down so badly. Gu Yan's voice was choked with sobs, and he was speaking incoherently. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been with Jiang Xingyue. I shouldn't have neglected my studies. I shouldn't have been so reckless and willful. I was wrong. I was wrong. Looking at the man crying his heart out, an idea suddenly struck me, and I spoke lightly. You're so smart. Even if you'd gone to medical school back then, you could have treated Auntie's illness yourself. I let out a faint sigh and turned to leave. Regret it. Keep regretting it like this, replaying over and over in your mind the happy ending you could have had, weighing your own sins down layer by layer. Did I get my revenge? In truth, I didn't do much at all. I even lent a hand this time, but I got the result I wanted, and that made me feel incredibly satisfied. Death is too easy. Better to keep living with regret, and living on for a long, long time. He carries the torment of both worlds, the memory of how brilliant he once was, and the helplessness of his present situation. At first, he may resent his own bad choices, but over time, he can no longer bear to blame himself. Then he starts blaming others, the person who influenced the choices he made. Even the purest white moonlight can turn into a grain of rice stuck to the sole of your shoe. Even the most beautiful admiration of youth, after being resented over and over in one's heart, will become the very culprit that destroys one's life. Gu Yan, live well, live forever in guilt, carrying your remorse for your mother, and your remorse for me from that previous life as well. 7. Aunt Gu still couldn't make it past 2 months. The family probably had no savings, so the funeral was very simple. I brought over a bouquet of white chrysanthemums, and at the banquet I sat with a few older women, listening to them gossip. A woman holding a child lowered her voice and said, his mother was driven to her death by him and that good-looking wife of his. As soon as she said that, she drew everyone at the table's attention, and they all leaned in to listen. That beautiful wife of his ran off with another man. His mother collapsed on the spot and was rushed to the hospital, just as she was starting to recover. That woman came back. Guess what she came back for? The aunt in the yellow shirt chimed in at just the right moment. Came back for what? She was demanding money, said she'd given the Lao Gu family a son, so they had to pay her, otherwise she'd take the child away. The Lao Gu family got into a huge argument with her on the spot, and it almost came to blows. And then, what happened after that? As they kept arguing, someone blurted out in anger, for all we know, this kid may not even be one of the Lao Gu families. Damn, that woman just froze right there. The woman in the yellow coat widened her eyes. No way, could it really not be? As soon as the woman hesitated, old Gu's family knew something was off and had a paternity test done on the spot. Guess what? The child really wasn't theirs. At that, Xiao Gu fainted from anger too, and both mother and son went down. I was shocked by the child. They got married in their senior year because she was pregnant, but it turned out the child wasn't Gu Yan's. In other words, Jiang Xingyue had been cheating all through college and kept it hidden for all these years. The aunt in the yellow shirt sighed. No wonder they didn't even fight for custody when they got divorced. I thought that was strange. The woman holding the child snorted, "They didn't divorce, they never divorced. That woman ran off with the kid and never went to the civil affairs office with Xiao Gu. Now no one can find her, and there's been no news at all. This is downright heartless." "You can say that again." After leaving Aunt Gu's funeral, I looked up at the blue sky and let out a long sigh. On the bus ride home, my thoughts slowly drifted away. In fact, I had met Jiang Xinyue before. Whenever we had time, my team and I would go to elementary schools in less developed cities to give science talks. Jiang Xinyue was in Luqing, where her son was attending elementary school. We each taught different classes, and I happened to walk into one classroom by chance. Many of the children in the class eagerly raised their hands. They were lively and full of the brightness and energy that only children have. There was only one little boy sitting in the middle row of the classroom. He was very quiet, with a dull look in his eyes. Although he was seated in the middle of the classroom, surrounded by classmates, he seemed to have a clear invisible barrier between himself and everyone else. After the lecture, I asked the homeroom teacher, worried that it might be some kind of school bullying. The homeroom teacher told me that the child had just transferred here last week, and before that, he had already changed schools 3 times since he was new, didn't talk much, and wasn't very outgoing. The kids in his class still hadn't really gotten to know him. I nodded in understanding and told the homeroom teacher, if there are any class activities coming up, take him along. He'll definitely loosen up. Kids always feel at a loss when they come to a new environment. By the time my team and I left, school had just let out. The entrance was packed with parents picking up their kids, bustling and lively among the crowd. I spotted Jiang Xinyue at first glance. She put on a bit of weight, but she was still strikingly beautiful. She crouched down to talk to the silent boy, but he gave her no response at all. Maybe I stared a little too long, and Jiang Xinyue noticed my gaze. She froze for a moment, then slowly stood up. Her eyes suddenly turned fierce, and she lunged at me without regard for anything else. "It's all your fault, all your fault. This is all because of you." A male co-worker immediately stepped in to stop her. Watching her lunge and rage like that, it was hard to connect this ferocious sight with the delicate campus beauty she used to be. Jiang Xinyue spewed all kinds of filthy language, and a lot of people frowned. See, some people are simply never able to see their own faults. They only blame others for everything. Looking at the little boy behind Jiang Xinyue, with red-rimmed eyes, I spoke up. "Jiang Xinyue, the child is watching. Are you really going to keep going?" It was as if some sudden surge of maternal instinct had been awakened in her. Jiang Xinyue fell silent, but she was still glaring at me. I found it a little strange. We'd had our clashes, but after seeing each other in the hospital last time, she shouldn't have had this much hostility toward me. Then something came to me, and I said cautiously, "I thought you'd end up a big star." In an instant, Jiang Xinyue lost it. She lunged at me like a madwoman, and her shrill screams rang out once again. It's you, this is all your fault, this isn't my life." "It's not." Sure enough, Jiang Xinyue had been reborn too. When Jiang Xinyue started acting crazy again, a man pushed through the crowd, came over, clamped a hand over her mouth, and dragged her outside. Sorry. My wife hasn't been in her right mind lately. She keeps having these episodes." As he spoke, the man shot Jiang Xinyue an irritated glare. "Why do you keep going on about some big celebrity? Aren't you ashamed?" The little boy silently followed the man. While Jiang Xinyue was still struggling, I turned and asked the homeroom teacher beside me, "Who is this?" "He's the child's father. He was the one who came to school to handle the transfer." "Sorry, Professor Chiao. His mother rarely comes to pick him up, and we had no idea she was in that condition." "It's nothing." 8 years later, I'm still working hard to earn the title of academician. At the class reunion, everyone was as familiar as ever. The conversation moved from life to their children's education, and then from their children's education to pressuring them to get married. No one brought up Gu Yan and Jiang Xinyue anymore. Over the years, I've spent most of my time in Kyoto and hardly ever went back, so I had no idea what had become of Gu Yan and Jiang Xinyue. Looks like our old classmates. Didn't know either, but the absence of news in itself revealed something. After dinner, I drove home. My new place is in an upscale residential complex, where apartments are hard to come by these days. Back then, my parents liked this place for its great location and convenient transportation, so they bought up the whole area and then built an upscale housing complex here. I pushed open the door and saw my mom scolding my dad while pulling his ear. "I told you, you can't add too much water when kneading the dough. Do you always ignore what I say? How much flour have you wasted already? Can you still make it or not?" "Huh." Dad, being cheeky as ever, poked at the sticky lump of dough in his bowl. "Isn't this fine? As long as it's edible, that's good enough." The old couple had long since settled into retirement, going out for Tai Chi in the morning and heading out together for square dancing in the evening when they cooked together at home. Dad did most of the work, only to end up getting a good scolding from Mom when she saw me come back. Mom let go, slapped her apron, shot Dad another glance, and then came over to talk to me. Dad gave a sheepish smile and pulled out his phone. Honey, since Xiaoshu has already eaten, how about we just order takeout tonight? I want barbecue. Sure, I'll place the order right now, it'll be here in no time. Mom untied her apron and sat down beside me, speaking a little awkwardly. Xiaoshu, I heard you and that little boyfriend of yours broke up. I laughed a little. Yeah, we got so used to each other that the spark just wasn't there anymore, so we broke up amicably. Mom sighed. Xiaoshu, are you sure you don't want to think it over again? It's better to settle down, even if you don't have kids. It's nice to have someone by your side when you're old. Dad sat down too and chimed in. Exactly, your mom and I can't be with you forever. What will you do if you end up alone? I looked down and smiled. Oh, Mom and Dad. I've always had someone with me, haven't I? Maybe one day I'll come around and find a companion, but not right now. I'm swamped with work. I'd pretty much talked my way out of it, so I quickly slipped away. Stuff like this happens all the time. I'm used to it by now. My parents' daily routine, eating, sleeping, and pressuring me to get married. My daily routine, eating, sleeping, and getting pressured to get married. But that's how life went on, quietly, peacefully, and happily. The end. Story 2. After confessing to my childhood sweetheart 101 times, he married his first love. Completely disheartened, I married his younger brother who had been pursuing me instead. After marriage, his younger brother doted on me deeply. His love was bold and passionate. Everyone thought I was incredibly lucky to have married such a good man who loved me so much. However, when his first love and I fell into the water at the same time, I watched helplessly as he, who couldn't swim, jumped into the water and swam vigorously towards his first love. He even gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation underwater. I struggled desperately in despair, praying that he would look at me just once, but he only focused on bringing his first love to the shore and let me be swallowed by the sea. When I was in a coma, in the hospital ward, I heard him fighting with my childhood sweetheart for the chance to take care of his first love. He roared in pain. I sacrificed myself to marry Jiang Yen, all for the sake of making sure she wouldn't interfere with your happiness with Qin Wan. Just let me see Wan. Okay. It turned out that no one had ever loved me. I immediately reserved a fake death service, planning to escape by faking my death. But after learning of my death news, he, who was always composed, pushed away his first love who was comforting him, bent over and spat out a mouthful of blood. He turned white-haired overnight. Miss Jiang, you have successfully purchased our fake death service. At that time, we will help you cancel your identity and arrange a way of death that satisfies you, allowing you to leave with peace of mind. The respectful words of the staff came from the other end of the phone. I just gave a faint in response. Let's set the time for 3 days later. I need to pack my things. After hanging up the phone, I dragged my aching body and walked back to the ward with difficulty. As soon as I reached the door, I met my husband, Lin Jinfeng. As soon as he saw me, he ran towards me with a look of concern on his face. Wife, you just fell into the water and your body hasn't recovered yet. How can you get out of bed and walk around casually? Go back and lie down quickly. As he spoke, he helped me lie back on the hospital bed and carefully tucked the quilt around me. After settling me down, he took out a box of still warm qingtuan from his large down jacket and gently placed it in my hand. Here, this is your favorite qingtuan. I took a plane to City A to buy it for you and brought it back. Eat it while it's hot. City A. It was several urban areas away from our current city S. While I was lost in thought, the patient in the next bed had already enviously exclaimed, Sister, your husband loves you so much. He not only crossed 1,800 kilometers through the snow to buy qingtuan for you, but he also put it in his clothes to keep it warm in case it got cold. Moreover, since you were hospitalized, he has been taking care of you. He even bathed you and fed you personally, and he often gave you jewelry and necklaces too. Make you happy. I'm so envious. Hearing this, I couldn't help but look at Lin Jinfeng. The tip of his nose was already red from the cold, and there was still snow on his hair tips. His eyes were full of love and affection, which was completely different from the decisive, cold, and noble President Lin in everyone's words. However, it was precisely these eyes full of love that deceived everyone, including me. Over the years, everyone knew that Lin Jinfeng doted on me deeply. He even felt extremely heartbroken when I just sprained my ankle. I also thought he loved me deeply. It wasn't until the moment I fell into the water that I saw him swimming towards Qinwan without hesitation and kissing her underwater. It wasn't until I saw him fighting with his brother Lin Mo for the chance to take care of Qinwan and heard his unintentional confession of his true feelings that I realized that the person he had always loved was Qinwan. Marrying me was just to make me stop pestering Lin Mo and to fulfill Lin Mo and Qinwan. How ridiculous. The happy married life I had had for many years was just an illusion. Now, looking at the Qingtuan in my hand, I had lost all interest. I have no appetite. Just as I was about to put the Qingtuan aside, Lin Jinfeng reached out to stop me. What's wrong, wife? Are you angry because I saved Qinwan first instead of you that day? I'm sorry, baby. I really mistook the person at that time, so I saved her first. Lin Jinfeng sincerely admitted his mistake. But I felt a deep sense of sadness in my heart. What a good excuse of mistaking the person. Even if he really mistook the person, what about his kiss with Qinwan underwater? Was that also a mistake? It seemed that he had been deceiving himself for so long that he had even deceived himself. I twitched the corners of my mouth and forced a bitter smile. Yeah, I understand. Lin Jinfeng thought I was appeased and let out a sigh of relief. He said gently, what do you want to eat? I'll ask the chef to make it for you. After saying that, he took out his phone and contacted the chef suddenly, as if he saw something. His face changed slightly. Wife, there's an urgent matter in the company. I'll come and accompany you later. If you want to eat something, just tell my assistant and he'll bring it to you. After saying that, without giving me a chance to refuse, Lin Jinfeng left in a hurry, leaving me behind. As soon as he left, Qinwan sent me a private message. Follow him. There will be a surprise. My subconscious told me that if I went, I would definitely see something that would break my heart, but I still somehow took a taxi and followed him. Sure enough, Lin Jinfeng went to find Qinwan. The door wasn't closed tightly, and through the crack in the door, I could clearly see the situation inside the room. On the sofa, Lin Jinfeng carefully held Qinwan's finger. It was just a wound the size of a mung bean, but he was extremely distressed. Why are you so careless? You even cut your hand while peeling an apple. As Lin Jinfeng spoke, he brought a first aid kit and patiently disinfected and bandaged Qinwan. Then he even picked up a knife to peel an apple for her. He said with a doting and helpless tone, what would you do without me? He clearly used to say these words to me, but now he was saying the same gentle words to Qinwan. Even though I knew that he married me just to use me, when I saw him being gentle with someone else, my heart still couldn't help but tighten. At this moment, Qinwan pulled her hand back and pretended to be in a difficult situation. Lin Jinfeng, Jiang Yan is your wife. You shouldn't come to take care of me. She deserves your love more. But Lin Jinfeng grabbed Qinwan's hand and said firmly, she won't find out. I've hidden it well over the years. Besides, I just want to protect you and spend more time with you. By the way, you said you wanted to eat Qingtuan from City A before. I bought it for you. It's your favorite red bean paste flavor. As he spoke, he took out an exquisite gift box from behind him, which was filled with Qingtuan, but my eyes couldn't help but turn red. It turned out that he had bought 2 portions of Qingtuan, but the one for Qinwan was in a gift box, while the one for me was in an ordinary takeout box. It was obvious that the one for me was just bought casually, just like I was just a substitute for Qinwan in his heart, or rather, I wasn't even a substitute. While I was lost in thought, Lin Jinfeng had already held Qinwan's face and leaned down to kiss her. At first, Qinwan pretended to resist, but later she gradually gave in, and the two of them kissed passionately. My heart felt as if it was stabbed by a sharp blade, and the pain was so intense that it was hard to breathe. I covered my mouth tightly with both hands, trying my best to hold back my tears. I didn't look any further. I turned around and ran out. During the process, I accidentally fell down, took a mouthful of cold snow, and even scratched my skin on the spot, causing blood to flow. The intense pain hit me, and the grievances I had accumulated over the past few days welled up. My tears fell down in big drops. After crying until I had no more tears, I dragged my weak body back to the hospital. Lin Jinfeng also rushed over in a hurry not long after. Wife, my assistant called earlier and said he didn't see you when he brought you food. Where did you go? Don't scare me. I'll go crazy if I can't find you. Would he really go crazy? I glanced at the scratch marks on his chest and just felt it was ironic. I retracted my gaze and said indifferently, I was feeling bored, so I went out to look at the snow for a while. At this moment, Lin Jinfeng noticed my red eyes. Why are you crying? It's all my fault. I was too busy with work and made my wife feel wronged. Coincidentally, 3 days later is our 5th wedding anniversary. I'll hold a grand banquet for you to celebrate it properly as an apology. Is that okay? Hearing this, I smiled. Lin Jinfeng thought I had forgiven him and also showed a smile, but he didn't know that I smiled because 3 days later was exactly the day I had reserved for my fake death. By then, I would give him a big surprise that he never expected. The next day, I was discharged from the hospital, and Lin Jinfeng drove me home. When I sat in the passenger seat, I clearly felt that the seat was lower than usual. After a careful check, the seat had indeed been lowered a bit. Moreover, I also found a strand of brown hair wrapped around the backrest. My hair was black, but Qinwan happened to have brown hair and was half a head shorter than me. It was obvious who had sat here before. Seeing me standing there, hesitant to sit down, Lin Jinfeng also couldn't help but look in the direction of my gaze. After seeing the brown hair in my hand, his eyes flickered slightly, and he quickly regained his composure and said, "Wife, don't misunderstand. My brother is on a business trip." Before he left, he asked me to take good care of Qinwan and pick her up and drop her off at work. That's why there are some remaining hairs on the passenger seat. Hearing this, my heart turned even colder, but he clearly said before that this was my exclusive seat and no one was allowed to defile it. Once, just because a scheming female colleague in the department tried to flirt with Lin Jinfeng and sat in the passenger seat before me, Lin Jinfeng kicked her out without hesitation. Only my wife is allowed to sit in this seat, but now, he let Qinwan sit in the seat and even broke his usual principle for Qinwan. As long as he wanted to avoid suspicion, he could have simply hired a taxi to pick up and drop off Qinwan at work, but Lin Jinfeng chose to pick her up and drop her off personally and even acquiesced to Qinwan sitting in the passenger seat that was supposed to be mine. Just then, I also caught a glimpse of 2 cartoon figurines of a couple kissing placed on the windowsill in front of Lin Jinfeng's seat. One was a male and the other was a female, with JF and QW written on them respectively. These were exactly the abbreviations of their names. It seemed that without my knowledge, Qinwan had completely replaced me and become the mistress of this car. I took a deep breath, suppressing the sourness in my heart. I just pretended not to see it and silently fastened my seatbelt. Anyway, I was leaving soon. No matter how affectionate Lin Jinfeng and Qinwan were, it had nothing to do with me anymore. After that, perhaps sensing that I was too quiet, Lin Jinfeng always tried to bring up topics intentionally or unintentionally. But I just responded indifferently. Not long after, Lin Jinfeng's phone rang. Although he deliberately avoided me when replying to the message, through the reflection of the car window glass, I still saw the chat content. Sure enough, the first thing that caught my eye was Qinwan's little rabbit avatar. "Jinfeng, the water pipe at home burst, and I'm all wet. Is it convenient for you to come over?" After reading the message, Lin Jinfeng's Adam's apple rolled up and down, but considering that I was still there, he quickly turned off his phone and smiled at me, trying to hide the fleeting look of guilt in his eyes. After that, he was obviously absent-minded and almost ran a red light several times. Halfway through the drive, he suddenly braked and looked at me with an apologetic expression. "Wife, there's another urgent matter in the company that I need to deal with, or, you can take a taxi home first. I'll come back and accompany you as soon as I'm done." "Okay." Although it was a question, it was obvious that he didn't give me a second choice. Before I could speak, he had already opened the car door, put me on the side of the road, and drove back in a hurry. Looking at the exhaust fumes of the car, I felt an indescribable feeling in my heart. Lin Jinfeng probably forgot that this was the suburban area, and with the snow, it was simply impossible to get a taxi. I once thought that he was my savior. After all, he broke 3 ribs in a fight for me, drank until he had a stomach hemorrhage to block the wine for me. He even remembered every one of my menstrual periods, and his WeChat moments were all about me. Even his brothers around him made fun of him for being my dedicated love-struck person, but unexpectedly, he was the one who saved me, and he was also the one who pushed me back into the abyss on the day I fell into the water. It was all Qinwan's deliberate plan. She dragged me into the swimming pool and then frantically accused me of pushing her. I struggled desperately in the water and kept explaining, but all I got in return was Lin Jinfeng's cold eyes and his determined back as he swam towards Qinwan. His deception and betrayal made me more disappointed and heartbroken than the cold rejection from my childhood sweetheart, Lin Mo. In the end, since I couldn't get a taxi, I could only walk home step by step in the wind and snow. As soon as I got home, Qinwan sent me a private message. There were many photos of Lin Jinfeng's sleeping face, as well as various intimate photos of them. "Jiang Yan, no matter how beautiful you are, so what? A substitute is just a substitute after all. You only deserve to pick up what I don't want." Between the lines, there was nothing but provocation. Even though I had prepared myself mentally, when I really saw these photos, my eyes still couldn't help but turn red, and a sense of grievance instantly enveloped me. I self-abasely read all the messages Qinwan sent me. I rubbed my sore eyes, turned off my phone, and turned around to go inside and pack my luggage. There were a lot of things, and it took me 2 hours to finish packing, but I only picked a few sets of change of clothes and stuffed them into the suitcase. The rest, I threw into the brazier. Among them, there were 99 love letters he wrote for me with his own hand. The youthful handwriting was full of love. There was the crown he had someone specially design and make for me, promising to dote on me like a princess. There was also the South China Sea pearl he spent a huge sum of money to bid for me at the auction, promising to stay with me until old age. After that, I lit a fire and burned all these things to the ground since I was going to fake my death and leave Lin Jinfeng. I was going to destroy all the traces of me here by then, except for a fake corpse. I wouldn't leave him any memories. Just as I finished burning, Lin Jinfeng happened to come back and caught me in the act. "Wife, what are you burning?" After seeing the remnants of jewelry in the brazier, Lin Jinfeng's eyes suddenly tightened. "Aren't these the things I gave you? Why are you burning them?" I had an indifferent expression on my face. "I just burned them since I don't like them anymore." But it wasn't just these items that I didn't like. I also didn't like Lin Jinfeng himself. I thought Lin Jinfeng would be angry after hearing these words. Unexpectedly, not only was he not angry, but he also dotingly flicked the tip of my nose. "Since you don't like them, then burn them. I'll take you to buy new ones tomorrow. By the way, we can also choose the dresses we'll wear on the anniversary banquet day." There was always a smile on his face that made people feel like they were in a spring breeze. In the past, I would have been moved by it, but now, I couldn't help but sneer in my heart. Lin Jinfeng probably forgot the promise he made with me once. We agreed that if either of us wanted to separate, without saying much, we could just destroy our shared memories. And now, I was burning our memories, but he didn't seem to care. Clearly, he had forgotten about it, or maybe, he was too confident, thinking that he had hidden everything well and that I wouldn't find out at all. So he naturally didn't think in that direction. No matter what the reason was, it didn't matter anymore. The shared memories had been burned, and it was the end for him and me. While I was lost in thought, Lin Jinfeng suddenly reached out and hugged me, burying his head in my neck. "Wife, you've been wrong these days. It's my fault. After I'm done with this busy period, I'll definitely make it up to you." If I hadn't smelled the inferior perfume on him that was uniquely Qin Wan's, I might have actually believed his nonsense. I suppressed my nausea and forced a smile. "Okay." As I spoke, I took Lin Jinfeng's phone and set an alarm for 2 p.m. 2 days later for him. Lin Jinfeng looked up at me. "Wife, what's this for?" I curled my lips into a smile. "When the alarm rings, the surprise I prepared for you will also be delivered." Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng's eyes lit up, and he immediately picked me up and spun around. "Wife, is this the anniversary gift you prepared for me? I'm really looking forward to it." I looked at him and said, "I'm looking forward to it too. It's just that I was looking forward to seeing him go crazy when he saw my corpse the next day." Lin Jinfeng woke me up early in the morning and took me shopping, on a date, and to watch a movie. It seemed that in order to please me, he stuck to me all the way, like a little follower. When we were choosing dresses, the salesperson kept praising us, saying that we were a perfect match, a handsome man and a beautiful woman. She even took out the store's treasure for me to try on. The store's treasure was dazzling, inlaid with pearls and diamonds. Even someone like me, who was used to seeing rare treasures, couldn't help but be attracted by it at that moment. The salesperson introduced it enthusiastically. "This dress is sewn with gold thread and pink diamonds worth tens of millions each. There are even 9,999 pink diamonds on it. So, this dress is also called the Only Beloved, and it's sold for 90 million yuan. Before the salesperson could finish speaking, Lin Jinfeng directly took out his black card and handed it to her. "I'll buy it. It's for my wife." The salesperson smiled and took the black card, looking at me enviously. "Mrs. Lin, Mr. Lin really cares about you." Lin Jinfeng looked at me with a smile on his face. "Not to mention a dress. As long as my wife wants it, even if she wants the moon in the sky, I'd be willing to pick it for her." As he spoke, he had already handed the dress to me and asked me to try it on. At this moment, Qin Wan happened to come to this clothing store to buy clothes. After seeing Qin Wan, the tips of Lin Jinfeng's fingers turned white, and his gaze involuntarily looked towards the door. It was so obvious between them. Why didn't I notice it until now? Now that I thought about it, there were signs between them a long time ago. Every time there was a family dinner, Lin Jinfeng's gaze would always linger on Qin Wan. Once, when Lin Mo was on a business trip, Qin Wan stayed at our house. That night, there was a sudden thunderstorm. Lin Jinfeng immediately jumped up and rushed towards Qin Wan's room. He covered her ears and held her in his arms to comfort her. He explained that since his brother wasn't there, he had to take care of Qin Wan, but he forgot that I was also afraid of thunder. That night, I was so scared that I curled up into a ball and couldn't fall asleep all night. And every time Lin Jinfeng cut an apple for me, he would cut it into the shape of a little rabbit. At that time, I even sighed that he was romantic and tasteful. Later, I found out that it was just because Chinwon liked it, and every time he cut an apple for me, he would give half of it to Chinwon. I was just a tool for him to get close to Chinwon, an excuse for him to hide his love. While I was lost in thought, Chinwon noticed the dress in Lin Jinfeng's hand and exclaimed, "So beautiful, can I try it on?" Lin Jinfeng took 2 steps back and directly stuffed the dress into my arms. "I'm afraid not, sister-in-law. This dress is specially bought for Yen Yen by me." Hearing this, Chinwon was stunned for a moment, and then she curled her lips into a smile. "I was just joking. Why are you taking it seriously? I'm not so desperate as to fight with my sister-in-law for a dress. However, Jinfeng, you're really like your brother." The two brothers are equally doting on their wives. "Well, I won't bother you guys anymore. I'll go and have a look elsewhere." After saying that, she gave me a provocative look and then turned around and left on her high heels. After she left, Lin Jinfeng reluctantly took back his gaze, and a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. After feeling my gaze, he regained his usual smile. "You sit downstairs and wait for a while. I'll go upstairs and ask the salesperson to pack the dress." But when he came back, Lin Jinfeng had nothing in his hands. Before I could speak, he spoke first. "Wife, it's all the salesperson's fault. She was so clumsy that she accidentally made a cut on the dress while packing it. How could my wife wear a dress with flaws? So I didn't take it. I'll buy you a more expensive and beautiful one later." How could it be such a coincidence that right after Chinwon praised my dress, something happened to it? I knew what Lin Jinfeng was up to, but I just looked at him quietly and didn't say anything. After a while, I nodded and said, "As you wish." It didn't matter anymore. Anyway, I was leaving soon. Lin Jinfeng's eyes flickered, and he opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but the next second, his phone rang, and someone sent him a text message. Without thinking, I knew it was Chinwon. Sure enough, the next second, Lin Jinfeng made an excuse that he had something to do and left. This time, I still didn't stop him and let him go. As soon as he turned around, my phone rang too. It was a call from the fake death service staff. I answered the call, but accidentally pressed the speakerphone button, and the staff's words came out. "Miss Jiang, everything is ready. We're just waiting for you to sign. After you sign, you can leave with peace of mind." Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng immediately stopped in his tracks, turned back, and grabbed my hand. "What do you mean by leaving? Wife, are you leaving?" I curled my lips into a smile. "Don't think too much. My best friend is going abroad, and I'm just helping her with the formalities." Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng let out a sigh of relief and looked at me deeply. I didn't know what he was thinking. After hesitating for a long time, he still chose Chinwon and left me behind. But actually, as long as Lin Jinfeng had insisted on asking further or taken my phone to check, he would have found out that I wasn't handling any overseas travel formalities at all, but a fake death service. Unfortunately, he didn't do that, but it was okay. This way, I could leave without any burden. After they left, I took a car to the fake death service center. When I saw the silicone dummy whose skin texture was exactly the same as mine, I couldn't help but be surprised and marvel at their professionalism. While I was lost in thought, the staff handed me a contract. "Miss Jiang, we've booked a flight ticket to Milan for you. We've also cancelled all your identity information. The silicone dummy is ready. On that day, we'll make the dummy fall from the rooftop of the banquet hall according to your request. After that, there will be no Jiang Yan in the world anymore, only Jiang Fanqing. If you've made up your mind, sign here." Jiang Fanqing was the new name I gave myself, which meant self-redemption and eventually becoming a shining star. Just then, Chinwon updated her WeChat moments with just one word from me that I wanted it. "You bought it and gave it to me." In the photo, it was the dress that Lin Jinfeng said he had already returned. I smiled indifferently and signed the contract without hesitation. Soon, it was the day of our 5th wedding anniversary. Lin Jinfeng and I were going through the ceremony when he suddenly said he had a stomachache and left halfway. The next second, Chinwon sent me a text message. "Come to the dressing room." Anyway, I was leaving soon, so I didn't have anything to worry about. I still went. Through the crack of the door, Chinwon was wearing my dress and passionately kissing Lin Jinfeng. "You've been wronged all these years for my happiness." The tips of Lin Jinfeng's ears turned red. "As long as it's something you want, I'll satisfy you." I watched coldly and took out my phone to secretly record a video. After saving the video, seeing that the flight time was almost up, I took off the dress and gave it to the fake death service staff, asking them to put it on the dummy. Then I took a taxi back home and put the suicide note and divorce agreement I had prepared in advance, as well as the printed chat screenshots of Chinwon's provocation, On the table after doing all this, I picked up my luggage and left for the airport without looking back. As soon as I arrived at the airport, my death news topped the headlines in the video. When Lin Jinfeng saw the moment I fell off the building, his face turned pale. I sneered, turned off my phone, and turned around to board the plane. Lin Jinfeng, from now on, there will be no Jiang Yan in the world, only Jiang Fanqing this time. I will be my own star. I hope we will never meet again in this lifetime. After arriving in Milan, I started from scratch, using the identity of Jiang Fanqing. I sent out resumes and looked for a job, starting my new life. Before getting involved with the Lin brothers, I was also a design genius valued by my tutor and had outstanding design talent. Unfortunately, I was so love-struck at that time that I actually gave up the great opportunity to improve myself for these two brothers. During the time I was pursuing Lin Mo, my tutor intended to give me his favorite student the quota to study abroad, but I swore to pursue Lin Mo, so I refused. On the day Lin Jinfeng proposed to me, my tutor extended an olive branch to me for the second time, inviting me to join his team and further my studies in design with him. But I believed Lin Jinfeng's sweet words. In order to stay by his side and build a home with him, I refused my tutor's kind offer again. Now that I think about it, I was really stupid back then. Fortunately, there was a chance to start over. This time, I chose to live for myself, for Jiang Fanqing. Soon, I was selected by a jewelry company. Every day, I would draw, revise drafts, and design jewelry. Although I was busy and tired, I felt an inexplicable sense of fulfillment, and my sense of self-worth was greatly affirmed and satisfied. While I was busy with work, it was said that Lin Jinfeng went completely crazy. The video of my fake body jumping off the 18th floor on the day of the banquet was also widely spread on Weibo. In the video, after seeing my fake body fall to its death, Lin Jinfeng immediately panicked and ran towards the direction where I fell. He tried to reach out and catch me, but it was still a step too late. My fake body died horribly in front of him. After my fake body died, he, who had always been a clean freak, held my body and cried bitterly, regretting what he had done. Wife, wake up, don't scare me. We promised to stay together until old age. How could you be so heartless as to leave me behind? Qin Wan beside him wanted to comfort Lin Jinfeng, but he directly pushed her aside with his hand. Don't touch me. Only Yan Yan can touch me. Later, Lin Jinfeng slumped on the ground, crying his eyes out. He even bent over and spat out a large mouthful of blood, fainting on the spot. The comments were all full of regret for our love. Sigh, why on earth did Jiang Yan lose her mind and commit suicide? Yeah, the CPI shift has finally ended in a sad way. I feel so sorry for Lin Jinfeng. He has always doted on Jiang Yan. Now that Jiang Yan is gone, how will he live in the future? I heard that he was greatly stimulated by Jiang Yan's death. Not only did he keep spitting blood, but he also turned white-haired overnight. But I just wanted to laugh when I saw all this. Love me. If Lin Jinfeng really loved me, he wouldn't have treated me as a substitute, nor would he have used me and done all those things to hurt me. He didn't love me at all. He was just being hypocritical. Moreover, if Lin Jinfeng really loved me, he should have realized at the first moment that the dummy wasn't me at all. I had checked. No matter how real the dummy was, there were still flaws. Many years ago, I was hit by a car and flew away while trying to save Lin Jinfeng, and I left a scar on my calf, but there was no such scar on the dummy. But after all this time, Lin Jinfeng didn't notice it at all. Humph, you scumbag. I was just about to exit when I found that Lin Jinfeng and Qin Wan were also on the headlines. The trending topic was, Lin Jinfeng suspected of having an affair and brutally beating the mistress. I clicked in and it was a video recorded by a passerby. In the video, Lin Jinfeng had bulging veins and was furiously slapping Qin Wan in the face. Why did you send these to Yan Yan? If it weren't for you, Yan Yan wouldn't have died. In his other hand, he was holding the divorce agreement, suicide note, and the printed screenshots of Qin Wan's provocation that I had left in the living room. Qin Wan was slapped until her mouth was full of blood, and she also lost her temper and retorted unceremoniously, now you're blaming me. Weren't you the one who came to me eagerly and begged to be my lackey in the first place? You didn't cherish Jiang Yan when she was alive. You were too timing. Now that she's dead, you're starting to regret it. You're so hypocritical. As soon as this video was posted, it immediately caused a huge stir. Everyone now knew that Lin Jinfeng had an affair during his marriage. The public opinion immediately reversed. The netizens who had felt sorry for Lin Jinfeng before now turned into keyboard warriors, scolding him and Qin Wan. You scumbag. What's with that affectionate persona? Disgusting, scumbag and bitch. You two are a perfect match, you dirty man. No wonder Jiang Yan didn't want you. The drama here wasn't over yet. Soon, Lin Mo joined the fray and also made it to the headlines shortly after. In the video, Lin Mo, who was on a business trip far away Immediately took a plane and rushed back after seeing the news online. He got into a scuffle with Lin Jinfeng and Qin Wan at the doorstep of the house. Lin Mo punched and kicked Lin Jinfeng. Lin Jinfeng, you scumbag, since you married Jiang Yan, you should have treated her well, but what did you do? You were too timing and got entangled with Qin Wan. I'll beat you to death. Hearing Lin Mo say this in the video, I thought it was ridiculous. Clearly, he had also been leading me on before, wavering between me and Qin Wan. Moreover, he clearly knew Lin Jinfeng's plan but didn't tell me and helped Lin Jinfeng deceive me together. He was equally selfish and hateful. After that, according to netizens, Lin Jinfeng became listless and ignored the company's affairs. He locked himself in the room all day long, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. As a result, his company went downhill and he frenziedly posted on Weibo, expressing his longing for me. Later, he even spent a large sum of money customizing an ice coffin for me to preserve my body intact. Then, he took the ice coffin containing my body to see the aurora in the Arctic, the penguins in the Antarctic, and to sunbathe in the Maldives. He checked in and posted on Weibo every time he went to a place. These places carried our sweet memories. Lin Jinfeng tried to numb himself and brainwash himself in this way. I just thought it was ridiculous. He didn't cherish me when I was alive, but he had to pretend to be affectionate after losing me. He was just despicable. After that, I ignored them and devoted myself to my new job. Because of my efforts, I was soon promoted and received a raise, and I became a supervisor. I thought such a beautiful and peaceful life would continue until 3 years later, when a photo of me attending the company's press conference was taken and accidentally posted online. At that time, I was mentally prepared that with Lin Jinfeng's temperament, he would surely be able to track me down quickly. Sure enough, he came to my door not long after. That day, I had just gotten off work. As soon as I went out, I saw Lin Jinfeng. He had changed so much that I didn't recognize him at first. At that time, he had a stubbly beard and dark circles under his eyes, which was completely different from the refined and noble him in my memory. When he saw me, Lin Jinfeng's eyes filled with tears, and he was so excited that he couldn't even speak properly. Yan Yan, it's really you. I knew it, you're not dead. As he spoke, he was about to rush up and hug me, but I took 2 steps back, keeping a distance from him, and said coldly, you must have mistaken me for someone else. My name is Jiang Fanqing, not the Yan Yan you mentioned. When my colleagues around heard me say this, they started gossiping, speculating that Lin Jinfeng was here to deliberately make trouble. Some kind colleagues even wanted to step in and help me drive him away. Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng looked hurt, but his eyes were extremely determined. Yan Yan, you can't deceive me. Over the past few years, under my questioning, the staff of the fake death service have confessed, you are my wife, Jiang Yan. Before I could react, he directly rolled up my pant leg. When he saw the scar on my calf, his eyes turned red on the spot, and he said hoarsely, Yan Yan, you have such a heartless heart. Do you know how I've spent these 3 years? I've been thinking about you all night long. I couldn't eat well or sleep well. I even thought about committing suicide several times to be with you. Yan Yan, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used you. I was wrong, but my love for you is real, only in this regard. I never lied to you. Yan Yan, I've already punished Qin Wan severely for you, and I blocked and deleted her. I promise you that I will never have any contact with her again. Please forgive me this time and come back with me. As he spoke, he carefully took my hand the moment our fingertips touched. I shook off his hand in disgust. Lin Jinfeng, no matter who I am, we can never go back to the way we were. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Lin Jinfeng's eyes became even redder, and he choked up. How can we have nothing to do with each other? We are husband and wife. I sneered and retorted, sorry, we've already divorced. Lin Jinfeng shook his head repeatedly, stubbornly insisting, I didn't sign the divorce agreement back then, so we're not divorced, so you're still my wife now. I had an indifferent expression. It's been 3 years already. The divorce cooling off period has long ended. Lin Jinfeng, you're just an unimportant ex-husband to me now. After saying that, I pushed him away and was about to leave. The next second, a tall figure suddenly blocked my way. Ian, if you don't consider him, consider me, will you? I looked up and was stunned. Lin Mo, why are you here? The person in front of me was my childhood sweetheart, Lin Mo. He actually chased me here too. I should have checked the almanac before going out today, otherwise I wouldn't have run into such bad luck one after another. Before I could ask Lin Mo about his purpose of coming, Lin Jinfeng beside me couldn't stand it anymore. He took a step forward and blocked in front of me. He gave Lin Mo a cold glance and frowned, saying, Lin Mo, you should stay at home and take care of your Qin Wan. What are you doing nosing around here? Come to think of it, this whole mess is because of your wife, Qin Wan. If it weren't for her deliberate provocation, why would Yin Yin fake her death, and why would she divorce me? She's ruined my perfect family. As soon as Lin Jinfeng mentioned Qin Wan, Lin Mo also showed a bit of disgust on his face and quickly distanced himself. Let me correct you. I've already forced a divorce with Qin Wan. Now she's not my wife. At most, she's just an unimportant ex like you. Lin Jinfeng was retorted and was so angry that his face turned red on the spot. Just as he was about to flare up, he saw Lin Mo directly bypass him and come in front of me. Lin Mo took my hand and said affectionately, "Ian, I'm sorry. I just realized how good you are to me. I was blind before and let down your feelings." As he spoke, he took out an exquisite gift box from his pocket and placed it in my palm. When I opened it, there was a whole stack of envelopes inside, and there was also a large glass jar filled with paper cranes. Before I could react, Lin Mo had already taken out the envelopes and paper cranes. "Ian, do you remember, every time you confessed, you would write me a handwritten love letter? These are the 101 love letters you wrote for me with your own hand, and these 1,314 paper cranes in this glass jar. I just failed an exam that day, so you folded these paper cranes to comfort and encourage me." I looked at Lin Mo coldly. "So, what exactly are you trying to say?" Hearing this, Lin Mo's ears turned red instantly. "Although this sentence is a bit late, I still want to tell you, Ian, I agree to your confession. I was blind before. Would you be willing to give me another chance now?" I felt a sense of disappointment and my mouth twitched in speechlessness. Was I blind before? How could I have fallen for such a disappointing man? Before I could open my mouth to refuse, Lin Jinfeng beside me was also anxious. He grabbed my other hand and began to list all the good things I had done for him. He even took out the jade pendant I had given him before. "Yin Yin, do you remember this? You knelt on more than 1,000 steps, step by step, to specially pray for this consecrated piece jade pendant for me when I had a high fever. Yin Yin, I admit that at first I did use you, but later I found that I truly fell in love with you. Our 5-year relationship as husband and wife, how can you just throw it away?" I felt a churning in my stomach and felt disgusted. I was really stupid back then. Why did I have to look for men in the trash? And I was actually played around by these two brothers. Lin Jinfeng and Lin Mo were both looking at me eagerly at the moment, competing to give me their gifts, both hoping to be chosen by me. I curled my lips into a smile and slowly walked towards Lin Mo. When Lin Mo saw this, he thought I had accepted him, and a flash of joy appeared on his face. He was about to reach out and hug me. "Ian, I knew that our childhood relationship wasn't for nothing." Before he could finish speaking, I had already bypassed him and threw the gift box he gave me into the trash can by the roadside in front of him. Trash should stay in the trash can. When Lin Mo heard me say this, his face turned green on the spot. Looking extremely ugly, Lin Jinfeng took the opportunity to kick a man when he was down and gloated, "I know Yin Yin, she would never want a second-hand item like you. Yin Yin, since you rejected Lin Mo, does that mean the person you truly choose is me?" Before I could refuse, he had already stuffed the jade pendant into my hand. I smiled and took it. When Lin Jinfeng saw this, his eyes lit up. "Yin Yin, I knew you still love me." But the next second, his smile froze on his face because I directly smashed the jade pendant into pieces in front of him. Lin Jinfeng was suddenly stunned, and then his face immediately turned pale. He couldn't help but widen his eyes and looked at me in disbelief, his voice trembling. "Yin Yin, you smashed it. Why are you being so heartless to me?" When I heard him say this, I thought it was funny, me being heartless. "Lin Jinfeng, don't you feel guilty when you say this? After all, you're much more heartless than me. When I found out that your 5 years of doting on me were all just for using me, when I watched you save Qin Wan instead of me with my own eyes, and when I saw you two kissing with my own eyes, do you know how I felt? I was completely broken." Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng seemed to think of something, and there was a hint of guilt in his eyes when he looked at me. Suddenly, he thumped and knelt down in front of me. Tears of regret silently streamed down his face in full view of everyone. Lin Jinfeng, who had always been noble, actually kowtowed to me on the spot. Once, twice, 5 times, 10 times. Tears mixed with blood and slid down. "I'm sorry, Yin Yin, I was wrong. I'm sorry for you, but I really love you, and I can't live without you. I'm begging you, please give me a chance to make it up, okay? This time, I will never let you down again." Before he could finish speaking, I interrupted him coldly. "Actually, you said something very right before, Lin." Jinfeng raised his head with hope in his eyes, but when he heard my next words, his eyes completely dimmed. "I really wouldn't want a second-hand item. You have some self-awareness." Seeing my firm attitude, Lin Jinfeng also knew that it was completely impossible for us. He collapsed on the ground, and his eyes were red from crying in the wind, but I was unmoved and turned around and left without looking back. I had just walked a few steps when I heard footsteps behind me. I quickened my pace. and he quickened his pace too. When I slowed down, he also slowed down. He was just following me at a distance. I was startled and knew that I was being followed, so I took the opportunity and ran into a small alley just as I was relieved that I had shaken off the person following me. The next second, I felt a pain in the back of my head. Then my eyes went black, and I fainted on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in an abandoned flower factory. My hands and feet were tied tightly to a chair, and I couldn't move. While I was confused, I heard a cold voice coming from above. Jiang Yan, you're finally awake. I looked up, and a familiar figure came into view. I was stunned. It's you, Qin Wan. Qin Wan no longer had the brightness she used to have. At this moment, her eyes were fierce, and her face was mean. She had turned into a resentful woman. She looked at me viciously and gritted her teeth. Of course it's me. There's a reason for every grievance and a debtor for every debt. Since you won't let me live a good life, I naturally won't let you have a good time either. Jiang Yan, you bitch, you didn't die at all, but you deliberately faked your death. Just because of you, Lin Jinfeng and Lin Mo don't want me anymore. They abandoned me. Also because of you, I was cyberbullied and became a person hated by everyone. Clearly, you're the one to blame. Why should you live a comfortable life here while I'm spurned by the world? I glanced at her and retorted coldly. Without hesitation, Qin Wan, you brought this upon yourself. If it weren't for your greed and your wavering between the two brothers, you wouldn't have ended up like this. You can't blame anyone. You deserve all this. Before I could finish speaking, Qin Wan raised her hand and gave me a solid slap. In just a moment, my face swelled up high, and it hurt terribly. Bitch, shut up. Weren't you also wavering between the two brothers? What right do you have to talk about me? You chased the elder brother and married the younger brother. What's the difference between you and me in essence? You're acting so high and mighty. Aren't you just relying on your pretty face? Then I'll disfigure your face and see how you, this vixen, can still cause trouble. A trace of jealousy and hatred flashed in her eyes. The next second, she directly picked up the dagger on the table and was about to slash at my face. In an instant, fear invaded my brain, and my body couldn't stop trembling. You're crazy. You're just a lunatic. Qin Wan gave a sinister smile. Yes, I'm a lunatic, so you can go to hell. Just as the dagger was about to pierce my skin, at this critical moment, two voices sounded simultaneously from outside the door. Stop. As soon as the words were spoken, two figures burst through the door. It was none other than Lin Jinfeng and Lin Mo. After they appeared, Qin Wan's hand holding the dagger visibly loosened. She looked at them with a delighted expression. Jinfeng, Amo, did you come for me? I'm so happy. I knew you still couldn't let me go. I didn't balance the relationship between the three of us well before, so you were angry with me. So I've decided to be fair. I'll be with Jinfeng on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, with Amo on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and take a rest on Sundays. Will you forgive me now? But Lin Jinfeng and Lin Mo seemed to ignore Qin Wan. The gazes of the two brothers were firmly fixed on me, and their faces were filled with uncontrollable concern. Their tones were urgent as they said, Yen Yen, Ian. I was also surprised to see them appear. Although I resented what they had done to me, I didn't want them to lose their lives because of me. I took a deep breath and shouted at them, why are you here? Hurry up and leave. Qin Wan has a knife. It's dangerous here. Unexpectedly, instead of leaving, the two brothers took a few steps closer to me. Yen Yen, we're not afraid. Yes, before, we were still reluctant to give up and wanted to try to win you back. So we followed you. Unexpectedly, we just happened to witness the scene of you being kidnapped. Do you know that in order to catch up with you, Jinfeng and I even ran several red lights? Fortunately, we arrived in time. Otherwise, I don't even dare to think about the consequences. Qin Wan never expected that the two brothers who had always doted on her and protected her would one day treat her like air. They even showed concern. Their substitute, right in front of her. Jealousy instantly enveloped her. Her face was distorted, and her eyes were blazing with anger as she stared at me. Her resentful gaze seemed to want to devour me alive. Qin Wan gestured and moved the dagger closer to my neck. Stop right there. If you dare to take one more step closer, I'll kill her. Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng and Lin Mo stopped in their tracks immediately and looked at Qin Wan coldly. Qin Wan, what do you want to do to let Yen Yen go? As long as you let her go, you can name any condition. Qin Wan curled her lips into a smile, and her eyes were full of paranoia and madness. Anything is okay. Then, break your own legs. As long as you're willing to cripple your own legs for Jiang Yan, I can consider sparing her miserable life. Hearing her say this, the two brothers were stunned on the spot. Qin Wan was very satisfied with their reaction and sneered at me. Jiang Yan, do you see, a man's affection is as cheap as grass. They keep saying they love you, but in the end, they still choose to protect themselves. Before Chinwon could finish speaking, the next second, we saw Lin Mo and Lin Jinfeng pick up the huge stones on the ground and smash them hard on their legs. In a short while, their legs were smashed to a pulp by themselves, with the bones clearly visible, and their cries of pain came one after another as they smashed their legs. They confessed to me, "Ian, I'm sorry, if I could do it all over again, I would definitely choose you. Yen, I let you down, not to mention one leg. I would even be willing to trade my life for yours. Chinwon, can you let Yen go now?" Seeing this scene, Chinwon was so angry that she went crazy. Her eyes were blood red as she stared at me. "Why, you're just my substitute, only worthy of picking up what I don't want. How can you act superior to me? I will never allow it. You can go to hell." She picked up the dagger and stabbed at me. I closed my eyes, resigned to my fate. But there was no expected pain. I heard a muffled groan. When I opened my eyes, it was Lin Mo. "Ian, I'm sorry, let me love you in the next life." I was somewhat surprised. Lin Mo actually rushed up and took the knife from me. Before I could react, I saw Lin Mo pull out the dagger on the spot and stab Chinwon with it. Chinwon spat out blood, and she and Lin Mo both fell in a pool of blood. Before she died, Chinwon fumbled in her pocket for a lighter, lit it, and threw it aside with a crazy smile. "Ha ha ha ha, let's die together." This was a flower factory, and it could explode at any time when there was an open fire. Lin Jinfeng naturally knew this truth. He limped over to untie me and pulled me out. Just as we reached the door, a huge wave of fire engulfed us. Because I inhaled too much smoke, I fainted in a daze. I felt a pair of strong hands lift me up horizontally. He even protected me with his body and rushed towards the door. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. At that time, the doctor had just finished examining me. "There's nothing serious. After you finish this bottle of infusion, you can be discharged from the hospital." When I saw the doctor, my head suddenly ached. I suddenly thought of something and quickly grabbed the doctor's sleeve and asked, "Doctor, is there a patient named Lin Jinfeng here? How is he? And his brother Lin Mo, is he okay?" The doctor looked at me sympathetically and patted my shoulder helplessly. "Lin Mo was already dead when he was brought in. Please accept my condolences." As for Lin Jinfeng, he had already injured one leg. Later, because of the explosion, his other good leg was also crippled. He was too seriously injured, and there's nothing we can do. In the future, he can only get around in a wheelchair. If you have time, go and comfort him more. After saying that, the doctor turned and left. I stood there, stunned, unable to speak for a long time. So, it was Lin Jinfeng who saved me that day. After all, I owed him such a huge favor. After thinking it over, I still found his hospital room. At this time, Lin Jinfeng was covered with tubes all over his body, and his legs were wrapped in bandages. He was extremely haggard and no longer had the confident and unrestrained appearance he used to have. When he saw me, a glimmer of light instantly flashed in Lin Jinfeng's dim eyes. Yen, you're here. Does this mean you've forgiven me?" The tip of his nose was already red from the cold, and there was still snow on his hair tips. His eyes were full of love and affection, which was completely different from the decisive, cold, and noble President Lin in everyone's words. "No, I'm here to say thank you, Lin Jinfeng. No matter what you did to me before, it's a fact that you saved me. Thank you for saving me. I will bear all your medical expenses and follow-up treatment costs." After saying that, I turned to leave, but Lin Jinfeng grabbed my hand, his eyes full of pleading. "Other than this, don't you have anything else to say?" Yen, I'm sorry for what I did to you before. I know I was wrong. Between us, I indifferently pulled my hand back. "I accept your apology, but it doesn't mean I will forgive you, Lin Jinfeng. The harm you caused me can never be offset by a few light apologies. Between us, it's over." Hearing this, Lin Jinfeng's hand fell limply. Soon, sobs came from the hospital room. I, however, turned and left without looking back. After that, I worked hard, and soon, I made further progress in my work. I was not only promoted and received a raise but also met the young master of the Beijing Circle. He also admired me very much and launched a fierce pursuit of me through day-to-day interaction and observation, and with his persistent efforts, I finally agreed to his confession. 2 years later, we got engaged successfully. He spent hundreds of millions of assets to hold a grand wedding of the century for me. Moreover, he even broadcast it live globally and invited superstars from various industries to attend our wedding, giving me a great deal of dignity on the day of the engagement.